这个节日期间，大家时间都挺宝贵的，所以我们准时开始。嗯，今天这个讲座从筹备到这个今天正式的呈现给大家，大概经历了1个多月的时间。为什么要这么久？就是因为嗯，很多人在假期是出行的，尤其是我们这些疼娃们啊。有的很多人不在加拿大所以呢，我们需要花一点时间去找到他们但是即使他是人在多伦多呢，也有很多孩子呢，其实是有各种各样的活动，所以我们今天在现场能够请到5位在美国读大学本科的孩子，真的不是一件很容易的事情非常非常感谢他们。现在呢，坐在我旁边第一排的有4位我就按照坐的顺序吧，稍微介绍一下哈。第一个大帅哥，请你跟大家打个招呼，站起来一下，打个招呼。
线上看不清
Andrew
楚啊，
来自于康奈尔大学
线上看不见人呐。
请坐第二位 Melody 来自哈佛大学，这个姐姐已经大4了，都快毕业了，非常感谢。第三位刚才那个 Andrew 是3年级，但是一会儿听他讲，他其实可以提前毕业的Sarah 大学1年级，来自于宾夕法尼亚大学。那还有最后一个 James 来自哥伦比亚大学。OK，那我们还有一个嘉宾呢，这个 Jessica 鱼在路上，他是从 Richmond Hill 打着 Uber 跑过来。因为爸爸妈妈没有时间送他正在路上可能等一下会到。那来自于耶鲁的女孩 Jessica，非常感谢，再一次感谢你们能在假期参加这个活动不是一件很容易的事情那这个活动呢，我们已经持续了能有将近10年了每年我们都搞一次，以各种各样的机构的名义来搞，但主要是 non-profit。OK，我们所有的这个门票收入是支付这个场地费、餐费这个感谢费这是Linda Key Foundation， 我们这个 non-profit organization 在假期为大家组织这个活动也感谢大家到现场来参加。那我就不讲那么多，那就是这个活动之所以坚持了10年呢，它其实是有它的意义其实对于每一本大学的申请，目前呢在互联网上有各种各样的分享你可以看到各种各样的这个 case但是为什么我说这种 in person 的这个线下的活动还有它存在的意义，是因为我们的这些孩子都是从我们的社区迈出去走向了美国的名校所以他们成长的过程对于我们local 的这个家庭来讲，具有比较大的参考意义因为他们都毕业于我们身边的学校离我们非常近，并不遥远，有可能就是你的邻居是你孩子的校友、学哥、学长那其实我们今天来到现场的不止这几个嘉宾是美国大学的。我们因为这里有2个大4、1个大3的学生来做分享，所以我们今天来到现场的还有几位在美国大学读书的孩子前面那个 reception 那个女孩子已经被卡内基梅隆大学录取了，她还没有入读。OK， 那第3排的这小哥俩，一个来自于杜克大学，一个来自于华盛顿大学都已经是美本的大学生了。那他们还是觉得想来这个学习一下这个我们今天这几位嘉宾的分享，所以这种分享呢，有线下的这种1对1的分享呢，具有就不可替代的这个意义我呢就讲这些如果大家有什么问题，我们都集中到最后去回答只有一个除外，就是 Jessica 第2个分享之后呢，因为她下面有 appointment， 她要提前离开所以第2个 speech 结束之后呢，针对那个耶鲁大学的那个姐姐，你如果有什么问题，我们可以提问。然后对于其他的4个学生的问题，我们都留到最后去一起答疑再就是呢， 现场你不需要这个录音和录像啊。如果这个屏幕太小，你看的不是很清楚的话，没关系。那个过后你可以跟客服要这个视频的回放。PPT 我们不可以分享给你，但是视频的回放可以分享给你啊。你跟小助手联系，报你的报名的名字啊，take his number 就可以拿到视频的回放。那我就讲这些。校长刘校长，我们非常感谢刘校长，没有刘校长就没有这个场地，场地是刘校长给租的，而且校长今天身兼多职，还负责技术，还负责搬桌子搬椅子。
因为这个假期啊，大家都放假，给 James 吧，因为下面他讲，大家都在放假，所以基本上就是我跟潘老师，我们是那个既要做组织工作，也要做这个劳务工作。我大概讲2句话哈，就是线上他们应该能听到我，稍等。
可以的，听得到，谢谢你。
Okay, guys, when you guys speak, can you guys speak over here, stand over here, because I have a camera. The online people want to see you guys. They want to see how you guys look. All right, so this is better this way. 那我用中文大概我讲2句啊，就是为什么我们经常会办这样的活动？这个好像还有点字迹，就是为什么我要经常办这样的活动？就大家或者说我们来听什么？我觉得你们要来听2个东西，我们学生也罢，我们的家长也好，我觉得听2个东西。一个呢，实际上是听他们的经历，听他们的经验，听他们的这种历程的分享。那这个大家都知道了，就是你不一定到这儿来，你可能也许在互联网上或者在各种各样的社交媒体当中，你能查到很多很多这方面的信息了。现在信息不是太多，不够多，是太多了。你要在这些海量的信息当中去筛选出那些真实的有用的，其实这个是要靠你的自己的一些认知才能把它筛选出来。但是你在这里，你听到的，我们保证它是真实的，它是有效的，他们是真正是他们自己经历过的，这是我觉得是第一，就是你们去听他们的这些真实的这种经历和经验的分享。第二，可能我认为更重要，可能我认为更重要，就是你们后面能听见我说话 ？OK， 我不用这个了，好吧？没有关系，我知道，你不用管它。你们能听到我讲哈？就第二个事情，so you guys, it's loud as me, you don't need to use that thing, okay? But if you want to use it, it's easier, maybe save your voice. 第二个事情是什么？实际上更多的是，包括我们做研学团啊，那么你们在门口可能看到我们有一个那个 flyer 关于我们的常春藤的研学团。我们每次做研学团之前，我也跟大家讲，我说为什么要参加？其实就是我说我们帮你们做到3个字，叫我想要。这3个字是什么意思？实际上就是 inspiration， 就是 motivation， 就是不是爸爸妈妈想让你去做这件事情，而是我们作为我们的孩子们、我们的学生们、我们的同学们，是你们自己发自内心的是说，我看到 James， 我看到 Andrew， 我看到 Sarah， 我看到 Melody 这么优秀，我也想要，我要跟他们一样，我要追上他们，甚至我要比他们做得更好，我要超过他们。这个是我觉得我们要通过这样的活动，包括我们的研学团也好，能够给大家带来的第2个效果。那我认为这个效果是更重要的。这个效果，只有你真正的在这个地方，包括线上你能够体会到的时候，它才有可能会打动你，才有可能会感人，好吗？那我就不多说了。So I'm going to turn the podium to James. James, you want to come over?
我再补充一句啊，我们要感谢大家。
you need that? Do you need that? Microphone? You're good? You're loud enough?
Yeah, hopefully.
Okay.
这我们5个嘉宾，3个来自于北边Arnhem、Richmond Hill， 很远的啊，所以真的是非常感谢。这个不知道家长都坐哪儿去了？后面哈佛的、哥伦比亚的那个，还有啊那边还有康奈尔的，那个 UPenn 的那个家长呢 ？Sarah Stad，Where are you？Sarah Stad， 他坐在最后一排，非常感谢你们。另外，我还要再补充一点是什么呢？就是这个优秀的后面。优秀孩子的后面永远站着优秀的家长，记住这句话啊！这些个孩子没有一个是石头缝里蹦出来的，他们之所以有今天，因为后面站着优秀的家长。笑什么？就是说，如果家长有爬藤，这些家长都能爬得上。OK， 就举一个小小的例子，就这门口做义工那个女孩，人家都拿到 offer 了，今天爸爸妈妈带着她一块儿又来做义工。早晨已经拿到 offer 了，全家人又来做义工，这是什么样的精神啊？所以真的是非常感谢你们啊！来吧。
Talk to him.
I think it's fine. Can you hear me?
最后一排。
You're not as loud as me.
Okay. Is it better? Great. Okay, hello everyone. My name is James. I'm a student at the Columbia University and Sciences Po dual degree program. A lot of you might not have heard of this program. It's a pretty small program. Basically, generally how it works is we do 2 years of university in France and then 2 years at Columbia. And here on the left side, you can see my information, my intended majors at each university. And there's also my contact if you want to add me, ask any questions later on. So just a brief summary of what I'm going to be covering today. First, be going over my background, where I went to high school, what kind of program I did in high school. And then I'll be talking a bit about the experience of the program, what it's like. It's a bit different from your standard 4-year degree in America. And then lastly, I'll end with a bit of advice for prospective students. So a bit about my background. I went to a public high school in Vaughan. I went to Maple High School. Our high school was a part of the IB program. So I did that for my grade 11 and 12 year. Our school was pretty moderately sized, around 400 graduates in our year. Here are my courses for IB. My SAT I took it a few times. The highest I got was a 1470. And my IB score is predicted a 42 out of 45. And at the time of application, my top 6 Ontario grade was a 98% average.
One second, sorry. Stop. Sharing. That's the one.
Can't go without technical difficulties.
Wait. Can you flip?
It's not working.
One more time. Okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay. So good.
Yep.
So here are a list of my awards. So a bunch of competition awards as well as a few scholarships. Most notably, the ones that I included on my applications were the first 2, the University of Toronto National Book Award, as well as the Queen's University Chancellor Scholarship. And the rest are just a random assortment of competitions. And you can take a second to take a picture. Yeah, and here's my activities and leadership. The primary ones are the ones in the first section. So primarily grade 12, I did FBLA, I did Model UN, volunteer work for local ministries. Yeah, there's a picture of me speaking. That was a part of the finance officer for FBLA. If you know about FBLA, it's like DECA. We do like business competitions. So in high school, I spent a lot of my time doing these competitions, running Model UN events. Yeah, that was where I did most of my leadership. and a bit more other roles in volunteering, a bunch of random places I volunteered at, hospital, etc. Worked as a boba store, barista. Yeah, so there's the rundown of my background. If you have any questions, you can always ask me about them later. Here's the list of schools that I applied to. As you can see, I applied to mostly Canadian universities. I only applied to two US institutions, and that was I went ED for the University of Pennsylvania Huntsman double degree. I got deferred, and then I eventually got rejected. And the second one was the Columbia dual degree, which I got accepted. And just so you know, for this program, there's no early decision. It's just one round. And it's also different from the rest of Columbia because it's not on the Common App. So it has its own deadline, has its own essay, everything is on its own. Yeah, so going into why I chose this university program in the end. The first thing is because this is an international program. You spend time in two different countries. You get to spend time in Europe, which is a great cultural experience. It's very accessible once you're in Europe to go to a nearby country, go to London. It's super accessible. So that's something that I thought was very interesting, very unique about the program that traditional university experiences don't have to offer. Our student base is also very diverse. It's around 50% of our campus in France is international students. So you're going to meet people from basically every corner of the world. You also have to learn French because you're in France. So you get another language enrichment that you wouldn't get elsewhere. I was also very interested in the program's academic disciplines. So because you're at two different universities, you get 2 degrees. You can actually study 2 different majors that you get to choose. So at Columbia, you can choose from any of their majors. You can do CS if you wanted. I know someone doing neuroscience. So you have a very wide range of choices. But at the time of applying, I was very interested in politics. And this program is very catered toward that career path. So a lot of people who go into this program end up working in diplomacy, working in public policy. So it's something that was very fitting for my career interests at the time. And to me, when I applied to go back, the rest of the programs I applied to in Canada, most of them were business degrees. And so I thought that this program was a bit more interesting, the business, because you get kind of a mix of both. You get a mix of the, if you want to learn about politics, history, and then you can also go to Columbia and do econ or something of the sort. So you get a bit of both. And lastly, it felt like this was the most value for money. Because the program is between 2 different universities, you're paying different tuitions. And in Europe, it is cheaper to go to school. A lot of times the government will subsidize part of your degree. You get 2 degrees in the same 4 years as opposed to just 1 in a traditional program. And there's also something unique about this French university, Sciences Po, in which you get automatic acceptance into their master's program. All of their undergraduates get acceptance. And so that means if you choose to, after your 4 years, complete a master's program, there's no extra application that's needed. You can just go directly to Paris and get your master's. Yeah, so my experience with the program so far, it's definitely a very unique program. It's unlike most traditional university experiences. Our student base is very small. Our campus is, we only have around 1,500 to 1,600 people on the whole campus. And the campus only has 2 grades because in France, over there, they do like an exchange year in the 3rd year usually. So there's only 2 grades, you know, a couple hundred people in each grade, a lot smaller than your traditional college campus in the US, which can have tens of thousands of people. And for us, we had to take the courses that we take, the academic load is for the first year is pretty set out. You don't get a lot of choice. It's like a core curriculum, same at Columbia. You have to take a few mandatory courses and you maybe get 1 or 2 electives in between. The course load is very reading heavy, literature heavy. It's not STEM or anything. So it's a lot of homework, doing readings, and then writing essays. That's kind of how the European model likes to do this kind of education in the humanities. Now, when we're talking about campus life, it's very different from the US as well. In the US, a lot of universities have very large competitive clubs, a very big professional culture where students are networking and meeting with mentors and alumni. But for us, because it's a smaller campus, it's also a smaller student body, there aren't many options for clubs or associations or organizations. And there's also not a lot of school support for pre-professional development. So normally you would have your guidance counselors, your career counselors, But at Sciences Po, it's a lot more hard to come by, and there's a lot less culture of finding internships and whatnot. So most people, most students that I know usually don't do a internship in their first year or even their second year, unless you're a US citizen, because it's very difficult to get a visa to work in the US when you're not currently studying in the US. So that's something you should keep in mind about this program is even though you're still going to be a Columbia student by your third year, you don't have the same access to those resources as you would if you were in New York for all 4 years. The culture here is a lot more laid back, it's a lot more casual. People travel a lot, people party. It's a lot more social than, say, Sarah later will talk about University of Pennsylvania Wharton. The culture is very different from what you would expect of a traditional US uni. It's also a lot more independent because there's no student residences, there's no student houses. So everything is on your own from getting the visa to getting your permits, to getting your health insurance, to getting your residence. Everything is on your own. And the school really doesn't handhold you at all. So that's something that is also different in terms of student life. So does anyone have anything you want me to clarify about the program, about my experience so far? Okay, great. Yeah, and here's some advice that I'll give to applicants looking to apply abroad. The first one I think is really important is you really want to follow a program or pick a program that you think is interesting to you. So for me, when I picked this program is pretty niche. It's pretty unknown. Most people haven't heard about this program. And when I picked this program, it was mainly because of the academic flexibility that it gave, and also just because my interest in the topics that they teach at Sciences Po. So if you don't know, Sciences Po is actually, at least in Europe, it's one of the most recognized political studies school. So a lot of presidents and prime ministers have attended this university. If you know Justin Trudeau's dad, Pierre Trudeau, he's actually an alumni from this university. So it's a lot of politics and government-related education. That's something that I thought was very interesting, and it's not something that's offered at most North American institutions. Secondly, I think that when it comes to this program, there's not as much pressure for GPA or for academic studying. So you have a lot more freedom to explore more of your passions. You have more time to figure out what you want to do with your career. Whereas if you're in a traditional four-year program, where say it's a business program, you're kind of set on that path from the beginning. But here, the first 2 years, you have a lot more freedom to figure out where you want to go eventually. Another thing is that this program is because it's its own application pool, you aren't pulled in with the rest of the Columbia applicants. And in fact, if you apply for this program, you cannot apply for Columbia on its own. So you either choose Columbia normally on the Common App, or you choose this program. And that also means that the application process can feel really foreign, can feel very difficult. There's not a lot of resources or information online about the application process. So you can feel like kind of alone in the process when you're applying for a program like this because it's so small and so specific. But once again, this is a decision that I made that I felt like fit my interests, and so that's why I decided to go for it. The second thing I would say is my experience in high school. I didn't really attend many, traditionally, especially Asians, we like to do like math tutoring or piano tutoring since age 5. But for me, my experience was a little different. I didn't get the opportunity to join any of those classes or partake in Model UN classes like Link Key offers. So for me, everything that I did in high school was purely out of my own interest and passion. For instance, in 10th grade, I started my own Model UN competition with one of my classmates simply because I thought it was fun and it was cool. So that's the advice I would have for students is don't feel like you're stuck to these predisposed paths that all the other students in your class are doing, right? If everyone else is doing debate, that doesn't mean that you have to do debate, right? Maybe if debate is something that's interesting to you, you should do it and you should explore it. But my piece of advice would be to not try to fit yourself into like a cookie cutter mold and kind of carve out your own path that you think is enriching to you and also that is something that makes you happy, something that is interesting to you. I would also say that it's important to get a lot of advice from your upperclassmen, from other students, because it's always easier when you have someone there to guide you. It's a lot harder to figure everything out from scratch on your own. I know that when I was applying, I had a lot of help from upperclassmen who applied to this program previously, to other universities, who looked over my essays, and it's really like a valuable asset having that help from the people who have already walked this path before you. Because to say the least, unless your family's able to afford those really advanced consulting kits where you're paying $20,000 for a college consultant, most middle-class working families, that's not something that's realistic. So you're gonna have to rely on a lot of your own hard work and a lot of word of mouth advice, like today here. So it's really good already that you're coming out today here to listen to this talk, to get an idea of what it's like. And lastly, a piece of advice I would have is to forget about comparing yourself with other people, right? A lot of times the culture when it comes to university applications, especially to these top US institutions that are hyper competitive, it's kind of a me versus them mindset where my peers are my competitors. But I'm here to say that that's actually not the case. And it's very dangerous to fall into this trap of envy and jealousy because a lot of the times when your peers and you are collaborating together, or if you're looking over each other's essays, giving each other advice, giving each other ideas, you can actually make your own application stronger. It can also help you figure out how to differentiate yourself even more. Right? If you and your friends are all looking to apply to a specific university, right, it might actually be in your benefit to talk about certain things so that you can figure out how you can make your essay and your application more unique and to show a brighter side of yourself. And lastly, academics, especially in high school, academics are definitely not the end all be all. In high school, as I said earlier, my SAT score, I took it 4 times. I took it once in every grade. The highest score I got was a 1470, and yet it still turned out fine. So if you're worried about your academics or you're stressed, you think, there's so many people that are geniuses at math and science, and I'm over here struggling to keep up, just remember that that's not the end of the world, and that there's a lot more to you as an individual, as a student, than just your grades. For me, I think that the most valuable and most enriching learning takes place outside of the classroom. And that's, taking advantage of your youth to go do something in the real world, to make an impact in the real world. For example, in grade 11, I joined the Canadian Trade Ministers Youth Council. That was because I was generally just interested in what government does, what is trade in Canada, and the kind of things that we do. We actually go into the community to meet people. We actually go and meet voters. We actually meet actual ministers who are doing real work in the government. So this is a lot more valuable than any kind of studying or GPA boost that you could possibly get. It's not only useful for your application, it's not only useful for writing your essays, it's also just really good for building a strong foundation for those important skills, work skills, learning skills in life that not only the university is looking for, but eventually when you're looking for work, when you're looking for internships, that's going to come in really handy for you as well. So I just want students who are either applying now or thinking of applying in the near future to keep in mind that a lot of times the best experiences that you can have when you're young does not actually take place in the classroom, and to put your foot out the door so that you can learn from these experiences that are tangible and can look unlike what you might expect. Yeah, that's about all I have. Thank you for listening. Here's my contact information. And thank you so much.
Thank you, James. Thank you.
Yes,
谢谢 James 啊，James 这2天有点生病，但是还是坚持着给大家做了这个很精彩的演讲，非常真诚的分享。 这些 information 如果你看不清楚哈，字太小。没关系，过后可以要视频回放啊，视频回放你就大概，因为它展示的是那个Zoom 上的那个屏幕，所以那些小字你就能看得清了，好吧？大家不要太着急啊。好，那我们下一个为大家做演讲的是 Sarah 啊，大家欢迎。
Sure. Hello. Oh,
Yes, sir.
oh,
Do you have this? Okay.
okay. Hi, can everyone hear me? So hi, my name is Sarah, and I'm a freshman at UPenn's Management Technology program, otherwise known as MNT, and it is a dual degree with the Wharton School and Engineering. So this might be another program that many of you might not have heard about. So MNT is a dual degree program that accepts around 50 students per year, around like 10 to 12 internationals. Oh, and I'll get into a bit of my background as well. So in MNT, you could pick any concentration or major from engineering and any major in the Wharton School. So I chose to do computer science and finance, although that might change a bit later. I went to high school at Markfield Secondary School, which has an AP program, and I took around 10 APs. And I actually did not take any of these APs at my school. I took them all outside of school. I self-study for them by myself because if any of you guys are in an AP program, sometimes they restrict like which courses you could take. Like you have to be in grade 11 or grade 12 in order to take an AP class. So I just decided to take them outside of school by myself. And I know many other students who also do the same. So I took all the STEM APs such as calculus, computer science, the two physics, stats, micro, macro. I took some humanities such as language, world history, and also chemistry. I had a 1560 SAT, which I took once. Oh. Okay, technical difficulties again. But I will also be going over a bit of like my awards and my extracurriculars, and then my experience at Penn and some general advice for everyone. So these are the 5 awards that. Oh. Yes. So these are the 5 awards that I actually put on my Common App, since Common App only lets you put 5 awards. So my first award was the MIT Jane Street Math Prize for Girls qualifier, which is a math contest, and they take around the top 250 scores for the AMC and Amy contest, which is a very famous American math competition. Next, I had American Computer Science League, which is known as ACSL, and I was a medalist. I had the highest finalist score in Canada and was ranked around top 70 worldwide. And next, I had another computer science contest, which was USACO, otherwise known as the USA Coding Olympiad, and I was in the gold division, which is like top 800 out of like all like around 20K participants. And next is a business award. I did DECA in high school. I qualified for internationals, and I competed in the entrepreneurship series. I actually did DECA 3 times. I competed in an entrepreneurship event every single year, and I qualified to International Student Innovation Plan, which is where you create your own company or your own startup and you write a business plan. And lastly, I had some various Canadian math contests, which might be more familiar to you, such as Euclid, Hypatia, Fermat. So I did very well on those. I earned some money, which was nice, and also got invited to some math camps in Canada. And so I split up my extracurriculars into like 2 sections. So these are the extracurriculars that were part of the theme of my profile. So I centered my profile mostly around healthcare technology. So these are the ECs that were my top ones for those. And also go into a bit of the context for my extracurriculars, because I think storytelling is very important in your application. Just like having the words for the extracurricular doesn't mean much. It's very important to explain the background, your motivation, and to weave like all your extracurriculars together into a compelling story. So first, I was on the wayfinding committee for the Scarborough Health Network, which is like a health network in like Scarborough, which is, but yeah, you guys are from, yeah, I'm from Markham, so that's like very far for me. but I was on the wayfinding committee. So I was developing technology for around 3 of their hospitals, which is a navigation tool for patients and volunteers. I was notably the only high schooler on the committee. So how I found this opportunity was I was a volunteer at the hospital and they had like monthly newsletters and I would read through them. And I remember for one of the newsletters, I saw that they talked about the achievements about the wayfinding committee because they were expanding to another hospital. I just reached out to like the email and I had a lot of like experience in computer science and web development in the past. So I got connected with the lead of the project. I had some talks with them and then I joined the committee through that. Next, I did publish research on fine-tuning language models, which I won't go into the technical parts of it, but it's related to machine learning and AI, which is very popular nowadays. It was about sentiment classification, which also had applications of healthcare, specifically in patient diagnosis. And next, I was a co-founder of a startup on air quality monitor technology, which is also healthcare tech related. And this was started through DECA. I also had a personal motivation to do this since my startup was focused on air quality monitors for student dorms and apartments because of the poor air quality of those. And I live in an apartment, so I made a connection to like my personal experience to that. And lastly, I guess this was kind of the extracurricular that started everything, was that I was an info desk volunteer at Birchland Hospital for 3 years. I've just been like working there ever since. And through that, I started my own like mini passion project because I think as a volunteer, as somebody who's like working in the system, you sometimes see flaws. So I saw a flaw through like really poor volunteer training. A lot of volunteers didn't really know what was going on, me included sometimes. So I started my own project to create a tool to help volunteers answer these questions better. And it was also like web development related. And I think this is also what helped me get into my role at the Wayfinding Committee. So these are some of the other extracurriculars that I put on my Common App. So I was the chapter head of Intergirls Toronto, which is an international nonprofit for women in STEM. And it is actually very well recognized in America, which I guess I was pretty lucky to join. And they're partnered with many like top firms in finance and quant, such as Jane Street, HRT, Citadel, Wolfram Alpha, and etc. I also had a bit of work experience. I worked as a math teaching assistant at a math school. I also worked as a web developer for the York region. And next, for some of my school involvement, I was the robotics club president. I was the social events director of one of my school councils. And I was also the first flute in my wind ensemble. And I guess a few of the other ones was that I was invited to some Waterloo math camps. I was the top 35 for the Waterloo contest, and I was invited. And next is the American Regions Math League. I placed in the top 45 for their tests, and I was selected for their team, which was at Penn, not UPenn, Penn State, but like same thing sometimes. I also hosted my own hackathon with some of my friends. We partnered with the Markham City and we raised some money to host that. So I applied early to MNT, so I didn't get the chance to apply to like other schools, but I did get to apply to UC since their application is due earlier than the regular schools. Their application is due in December, so I already applied to the UCs before I got my decision. So I applied to Berkeley and UCLA, and I got into both. I got into Berkeley for engineering and UCLA for math. So I guess I'll explain a bit why I chose to apply early to MNT. So I actually did not know what this program was for a very long time. I think I only discovered what MNT was near the end of grade 11. And through that, I learned that MNT is actually very niche program since they only take around 50 a year. But since they're a dual degree, and I think the Wharton and Ivy League name brand carries a lot, it is a very highly regarded program since Penn is very known for a very strong alumni and pre-professional like network. They have very, very good career placements all throughout like finance, technology. So pretty much any field that you choose to go into, you'll have like very good future opportunities. As well, you get to meet a lot of great people. And because since I'm an international student and I had no like connections to industry before, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do in the future. I felt like I needed to take the opportunity to join a school that has a very strong alumni network so I could form like connections and build a strong network in the future. Also, UPenn is known as the social Ivy. So not only do we work hard, we also play hard and we have fun. And that is something I also wanted to do in like university. I also want to enjoy my time, which is also why I chose MNT. And lastly, this is something that I learned as I'm a freshman, even though I'm only one semester in, I learned that MNT truly does have really insane opportunities. And I'll get into some of the ones I encountered in the next slide. Yes. So I'm going to talk a bit about my Penn experience. So since I am doing a dual degree, I have to take more courses in order to graduate. So usually M&Ts I would take around 5.5 to 6.5 like course units a semester, whereas normal single degree students only take 4 to 5. So the workload is very heavy. My first semester has been basically entirely homework, but I think that's a time of adjustment. I think that eventually it will be like fine. People will adjust. And next, I'll talk a bit about the opportunities there are. So I want to explore different career paths because I feel like in America, there's a lot of opportunity, whether in like finance, whether in high finance, VC, quant, or startups. And Penn does very well for all of them since it is quite pre-professional. So I got to learn about different finance opportunities and different careers that I otherwise would have never known. And because Penn always hosts like different like workshops, different speaker panels. It is really easy to learn about these different opportunities and learn about these different careers. These opportunities are basically like right in front of you. You just have to walk into the classroom and sit there and listen. And next, M&T also has a specific M&T seminar for first and second years, where it is a lecture where we hear from 2 to 3 different alumni a week about their experience and their path, which also really helped a lot for choosing a career. And some of the insane internship and career placements. So there are many like finance and tech internships that are available only to like juniors, for example. But through talking to different upperclassmen, I learned that many of these students have already gotten these insane career placements as a sophomore. I've known sophomores who had like sales and trading, who are working at Google, working at NVIDIA, and these are pretty much only like junior only roles. But these like sophomores at M&T are already somehow breaking into them. So I think that because M&T has such a strong network, and really if you reach out to another M&T, they will do the most to help you since like we're all part of this together kind of, since M&T is very difficult. I think the careers and the network that you will form is really valuable. And also I'll talk a bit about the competition and culture shock I got at Penn. So it's a bit different from James's experience at Sciences Po. So Penn is known to be quite competitive and quite intense, and I have to say this is pretty true. My first week at Penn, people were asking me how many coffee chats I'd gotten. I didn't even know what a coffee chat was. And also the club applications were quite intense too. Applying for clubs, you needed to write like a stock pitch, you needed to do 3 rounds of interviews. It was a lot, especially for a freshman, and especially for someone who has like no previous experience in finance. It was quite difficult, but I do think that the people at Penn, they do understand, like you're a freshman, like they've also been through this process before, so they're pretty understanding. I was able to land some top finance clubs with no finance experience. I would say that the network and like the friends you make in these clubs are very valuable. As for the competition, it is definitely true that it is competitive, but I also think that definitely depends on the people you surround yourself with. I think like because the people you choose to be around is like what's gonna like form your mindset. So I really focused on finding good friends and finding people who do not stress me out since school is already stressful. So I think that Penn is not as like toxic or as like competitive or scary as it might be, even though yes, it is competitive. I think that is true for most top US schools. And next, I will go a bit into like my application process and some general advice that I have. So first, this is going to be a bit about like the actual application process and like writing your essays. And so I do think that the actual essay writing process is the most important part of your application. I think that a really strong essay, a really strong profile can really bring like an average stat, average EC application to a really strong application. Whereas even if you have really great stats, you've won multiple honors, crazy awards, but if you have bad essays, then it might be over. So here are some of the things that I learned from the essay writing process and just application in general. So first, I think that it's very important to kind of theme your application, which is to create a personal story that ties into your application. Because nowadays, many students, they could just like join a nonprofit or do something just for the sake of like getting into a university. And many admissions officers now see through that. They know, oh, like this kid is just doing this to get into university. They don't really have passion for this, which is something that you don't want to show. You want to show that you are actually passionate, and how you can do this is through forming your personal story. I think it's really important to have a few extracurriculars that are tied into like what you're interested in and what you want to pursue. And you also want to provide a really clear understanding of what you will do at the university and how the university fits into your career aspirations as well. Another thing is, after reading and writing many essays, is that do not confuse good writing for good content. Many people are very strong writers. People can write very well, but the content of your essay is the most important. I've read many great essays. There are also many viral essays that many of you guys may have come across that are very lyrical, very beautiful, and many people try to like copy them, but sometimes it doesn't really work out because I feel like people are missing the most important point, which is why you want to apply to school and why they should admit you. I feel like people often get lost in making their essay sound really good or making their essay as smooth as possible when they forget that your essay doesn't have to be super beautiful. It doesn't have to be like some top-notch writing. It just has to convey a story. It just has to share a story, as to tell a point. And it should make a case for why you should be admitted. And I will also go into some general advice, since many of you might be still looking for extracurriculars, maybe looking for activities to do in high school. So how to get good extracurriculars. This is something that I think I struggled with for a while, because I wasn't sure how to get these good extracurriculars, how to get these good opportunities. But you really just have to make them yourselves. People will not hand opportunities to you. Sometimes they might, but often they won't. So how I found most of my opportunities is through just reaching out to people by myself. I found my research through cold emailing multiple professors at American unis. And otherwise, if I didn't reach out to people, I would have never gotten these opportunities. So I think you really have to like take it into your own hands and do these things if this is what you want. And also apply for things, even if you think you're unqualified. Because there are many times where I was really scared to apply for a position, maybe for a school club, or where I was scared to apply for a position at a nonprofit because I thought they won't take me. Like, what am I even doing this for? But remember, it's not that deep. If you want it, you should just go for it. This might be kind of cliche, but you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. This is definitely true for your application process. If there's something that you want, you should just try. Even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried it. And lastly, do things you enjoy. This might be something you heard a lot, but I definitely think that this is true. Universities are admitting a person, not just like a piece of paper. They also want to see that you have personality. They want to understand who you are as a person. And do things you enjoy doesn't necessarily just like mean play video games or sit at home and just scroll on your phone. Maybe don't do that, but I think it's good to do things you enjoy that are small, that maybe you think don't mean much, as maybe volunteering. Because through these small hobbies I enjoy, you can often find others. For example, when I was volunteering at the hospital, I didn't think I would stay there for that long because many people volunteer at the hospital. I thought, oh, this isn't really that impactful. But because I stayed and because I enjoyed it, because I was so involved as a volunteer, I was able to gain all these opportunities, such as joining the Health Network Committee and these other healthcare opportunities that came through me sticking through my extracurricular the entire time. I think that if you do things that you enjoy, you'll naturally grow into other things, because universities do also want to see you naturally growing and exploring through the opportunities you have. So take what you have, even if it's seemingly small or irrelevant, and stick with it, because you'll eventually find new opportunities to innovate and create that into something better. So yes, that is it for my presentation.
谢谢 Sarah， 非常感谢。这个 UPenn 的这个MIT 这个 program， 有一句通俗的话来概括，它其实培养的就是会做生意的工程师。你从他的这个 extracurricular 里面，你也能感觉得到，这个孩子的商科类和这个技术类都是比较强的啊，所以这个 program 很有特点啊。也不好进Sarah， 你刚才有讲了，他一年招多少
？50个，
只有50个，全球一年只有50个，竞争蛮激烈的，非常好。如果大家还有问题，搁到后面一块儿去问。那呢，这个接下来为我们分享的呢是这个 Jessica 啊 ，Jessica 家里今天有很多事，然后呢，她是打着 Uber 从 Richmond Hill 赶过来。真的是非常非常感谢。然后我们把他演讲的顺序提前因为 演讲结束之后，他还得赶回去，他还有一个 appointment。本来是考虑到是不是就在线上做了，不麻烦他，但是，大姐姐真的是非常非常的有责任感，是打着 Uber 赶过来了。让我们感谢一下 Sarah 那个 Jessica， 非常感谢。Jessica 在 Yale 已经是4年级了啊，马上就要毕业了。其实她刚上大学那一年给我们做过一次分享啊，那个时候比现在还可爱，小小的。然后4年之后，我相信她是有很多是自己的一些感受要分享给大家。我也相信她在耶鲁大学度过了4年充实的4年。那接下来她会有一部分时间呢是给我们分享她的大学，高中她也会讲。OK。然后给摘塞卡的提问呢，就等一下她演讲结束之后我们就可以马上提问因为她离开的比较早。都拿握着手里，够忙的了。这个上下是摁哪个键？是这个。你试一下。对。
Okay. All right. Thank you guys for being here. I remember that when I was younger, I also enjoyed listening to many presentations like this. And when I was younger, I found a lot of inspiration in the older brothers and sisters who went before me. And I found it to be very helpful. So I too hope that today I am able to give back and that you are able to find something from my presentation too. So hi, everyone. I'm Jessica, and I'm currently a senior at Yale University. I was born and raised in Toronto, and for high school, I went to University of Toronto Schools. In terms of the table of contents of what I'll be talking about, I will be splitting things roughly to part 1 and part 2. Mostly, I'll focus on part 1 because that's where you guys are at. So I'll be talking about my academic profile, my personal activities, and also just an overview of the US University application process for me. And then part 2, because I'm a senior, I have a lot more to share about my experiences studying undergrad at Yale. So I'll be talking a little bit more about how I found the academic environment at Yale, the social environment, and the opportunities that are available to the people who go there, and also some general advice to students and families. Okay, so a little bit more about my high school academic profile. I went to University of Toronto Schools. That was an AP school. My GPA was 97.5%. I ended up doing the ACT actually because it was COVID and SAT got canceled. So I pushed back and registered for ACT, and that was 35. And because UTS was an AP school, there were a lot of AP courses that I ended up taking. Most of them I took it with the school. Except for US history, which I studied on my own out of personal interest. And in the end, I was accepted into my top choice for restricted early action, and I'm majoring in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology. In terms of my personal activities, I've actually I've done many things. I don't think there is ever a right answer, but personally, I had so many different interests, so I would like to share a little bit of them. First of all, biology has always been my personal academic interest. When I was younger in high school, I've done a lot of biology competitions. For instance, various biology Olympiads, such as International Biology Olympiad, Canadian Biology Olympiad, British Biology Olympiad, and like various other biology competitions, winning gold medals in them. I've done some lab volunteering at York University. It was a lab that did a lot of research on bees. And as you can see from the picture there, I've done a lot of work helping them label and sort these bee specimens that I was very fond of. And I've also published an independent research on urban beekeeping and have asked for advice from the people at the lab that I volunteered for. So on a similar note, other than hardcore biology, I was also very interested in environmental activism. So at UTS, I started a pollinator garden project. So what it was I started an initiative where we delivered pollinator garden kits to everyone in the UTS community. So that looked like students, staff, and even a lot of alumni came to get it. And because this was during COVID, originally we wanted to plant a garden at the school, but that wasn't possible. So people ended up taking these pollinator garden kits home to plant, and these were various plants that are pollinator friendly. So we were able, and because UTS's catchment is so like wide, there are people from all over the GTA. So we ended up having these like 1 meter by 1 meter pollinator gardens from various people's homes that were established during that time. And other than my school, in which this pollinator project allowed us to get B school status at UTS, I was also a member of the Ontario Nature Youth Council, and I helped them organize various events. And I was also a Bee City Canada ambassador, where I delivered presentations to elementary school and middle school students about the importance of pollinators. So I actually worked for them for a period of time. And other than biology and environmental science, I was also very interested in debate and creative writing. So I've done a lot of competitions for debate. I went to various BP, like British Parliamentary and World School style tournaments. I've gotten like semifinalist status before. And I've also done a lot of creative writing, and that includes writing for like publications and contests. So that could look like be like whether or not it's like magazines at my school or like magazines outside, like Toronto Public Library, Scholastics, and other writing contests. I actually also founded my own writing competition during COVID time. I called it Stories Amidst Quarantine, and we had people from all over the world submitting their stories and experiences during COVID. And I was also the editor of various magazines. So I actually helped edit for Toronto Public Library, their Young Voices magazine for a year, also the senior editor for my school's magazines. So in terms of the academic awards, there are many, but as you may know, when you apply for university, you can like list 5. And so I've decided to share that these were the 5 academic awards that I chose to list. And I chose across my interests so that they can see that I was interested in many different things. So for instance, the first 2 are mainly about biology. The third one and the fourth one was mainly about my creative writing passions. I especially enjoyed writing poetry. And finally, I also listed a debate award. So as you know, I had many different interests, and I really, really appreciated how at the time, Yale University, they had this philosophy of and. So a lot of applicants that they're looking for have really like a lot of different passions, and they don't ever box themselves into a singular thing. And at the time that really resonated with me. And I also visited Yale's campus when I was younger, and it seemed really friendly. People, when I didn't know the way, there were always people there who would like help me point out where things were. So I've always had a really great impression of Yale. And so that's when I decided that I wanted to apply early for this and shoot my shot. In terms of the preparation timeline, I actually began writing my essays in the summer prior to grade 12. So by the time that I submitted things, like the official deadline for early action at the time was November 1st. So I was done like well ahead of time. And because of that, I feel like it wasn't like the process wasn't as stressful for me because I prepared beforehand. And I know it's easier like said than done, but I would really recommend that if you have time to write your essays over the summer to do it well in advance. And I got my results for early action around mid-December, and I accepted and enrolled because this was my first choice university. Okay, so now that I've given a bit of overview of what happened in high school, I'd like to talk a little bit more about my experiences at Yale itself, because I've been here for almost 4 years now. So first of all, Yale has an amazing academic environment, as I'm sure you know. There are lots of different classes that they offer very diverse. You can attend things from like large lectures to really, really small discussion-based seminars. Like there are some classes that only have 5 students and the professors. So you can definitely, and even if it's a large lecture, the professors are usually always available for office hours. So you can always go there and talk to them if you're interested. So you can always establish like a relationship with professors and learn more about their work and stuff like that. And this was what I really liked about Yale, is that students are always encouraged to explore across disciplines. This is where their philosophy of quote unquote and comes in. Like they don't just, even if you like math, for instance, or biology like me, they don't want you to just learn biology or just take classes in math, because, you know, the world is so broad and you can learn about so many things, from classes on like religion to philosophy to, history. You can do anything. So Yale, to encourage that in students, they have distributional requirements for you. So for instance, no matter what your major is in, they want you to take certain amounts of classes in humanities, certain amount of classes in, for instance, quantitative reasoning. And they also want all of the undergrads to take a lot of classes in languages and to master at least one language. So for instance, at Yale, even though I took a lot of biology classes, of course, I also took a lot of Mandarin classes. So when I originally went into the university, I didn't know how to read or write Mandarin, but now, even though I'm not perfect, I'm way better than when I went in. So I'm very grateful for that. And also, you can register for classes across schools. So for instance, I'm taking classes at the School of Public Health as well. And of course, you would require instructor permission and like contacting and working around that. But it is possible for people who are interested in taking grad courses. And you can also do lab research for credits. So I've started working in a lab at the Yale School of Medicine since sophomore year, and I've done research for credits, which is great. And finally, you can always have support for academics. Like for instance, let's say something happens, like you have to miss a deadline, or you have some issues and you need someone to vouch for you, or you have questions about courses and stuff like that. Everyone has a dean that they can go to. Yale has a residential college system, 14 residential colleges, and each college has a dean. So for instance, I can always make an appointment to my dean and bring up any concerns to them, and they can always be there as support for you so that you are never alone when navigating Yale's academic environment. Now, social environment is also very important to me as well as to all of you, I'm sure, and I'm really happy about Yale's social environment. In fact, it was part of the biggest reasons as to why I wanted to apply there in the first place. As I mentioned, they do have a residential college program. So that means when you go in, they'll assign you to a residential college. Think of it almost as like Hogwarts houses a little bit. So every person has a residential college, and that they have their own like dining hall, they have their own like head of college, they have their own dean and like various facilities. And actually, I was really impressed that when I stepped into my residential college for the first time, they already knew my name. So I don't know how that the head of college and dean like memorized everyone's names, but when they greeted me, they were like, "Hi, Jessica," and that has continued for the next 4 years. And I'm very grateful for that community of which I live in. Second of all, Yale has more than 500 extracurricular clubs. Like really, no matter what you're interested in, you can always find some club that like fits your interest. And if not, you can always easily make your own one. So for instance, I joined Cortex magazine. It's kind of like a science fiction magazine type. And I also joined a menstrual equity club because I'm really interested in menstrual health. And I also started my own club as well. And as you can see in the picture there, this was a social event that I held on behalf of Yale Bleeds, which was on behalf of Yale Bleeds and the magazine club, both of which I was in. It was an event I organized. And you can also make friends from all kinds of backgrounds there, and you can meet them anywhere. You can meet them through classes, especially the small seminar types. You can meet them through residential colleges. You can meet them through various clubs. And Yale in general, I find that it has a pretty friendly and collaborative environment. So if you need to share notes and stuff, like you can make friends and you can help each other out. And Yale has many resources and opportunities. And just as in high school, where you have to make do of your resources and use your opportunities wisely and find opportunities, the same thing is in college. So Yale offers various fundings for projects that you want to do. They have a great career of advising office. You can easily book like online sessions with them and talk about your resume or like your thoughts on your careers. If you want to apply for grad school, med school, law school, etc. Yale also has various summer opportunities. They give a lot of funding for various summer opportunities. You can apply for scholarships, or they themselves might even have like contacts or connections and they can like set you up. And also internships and research programs. So for instance, with my 4 years at Yale, I've done a lot of things and I feel very grateful for their support. For instance, I won a scholarship to study abroad over the summer to learn Mandarin in Taiwan. It's a fellowship called the Light Fellowship. I was also able to spend a summer at the National University of Singapore to do clinical research on women's health. And because of that, I was able to publish a paper. I was also able to win a scholarship, a global health scholarship. And this summer recently, I was in New York City and I was interning at UNICEF with their menstrual health and hygiene program. And for next semester, I've been set up for an internship for the at the Connecticut states because they have a reproductive rights coalition, of which I was also very interested in. And all of these things like really set up a great foundation for my future. And I'm sure that no matter what you want to do, when you go in, you can uniquely make use of all of these opportunities to forward your vision for your own future. Okay, and now in terms of some general advice, the first one is a little bit obvious, but build a strong academic foundation. I know that there are obviously many things that you can do, like extracurricular activities and like following your passions, all of which you have to do, but academic foundation is the first thing that they look at. So, like if you do a lot of impressive extracurricular work, but you can't, like, you're not good for your academic foundations, like that would also be a huge problem. So definitely pay attention to the basics and the easy things, as well as like following your passions. And the second one is commit to depth and consistency in your extracurriculars as opposed to short-term add-ons. When the admissions officer looks at your applications, they want to see a story that makes sense. They want to know about who you are and what you care about. And how do you show them who you are and what you care about? Those are your passionate activities, but all of those things are backed up through the depth of which you commit and through the consistency. So for instance, if you like start something for a month and then you stop and you start something else for a month and then you stop, if they look at that, it doesn't seem very consistent. So make sure that once you find something that you like, to move forward and commit to that. And my third advice would be to use resources proactively and responsibly. And if you don't have any opportunities around you that you can think of, to come and think up and make your own opportunities. So for instance, for the pollinator garden project, it was something that I came up with. It wasn't something that already existed. So obviously check your available resources, but if you can't find one, think of what ways can you creatively and uniquely carve out your own path and take initiative for that. And finally, build a supportive environment and have realistic expectations. I think obviously it could be a very stressful time applying to college and thinking about the future. That is definitely daunting. But I think at the very least, like build a supportive environment for each other. So if it's like parents, like to support your child and encourage them in the activities that they're passionate about, and to always be realistic. Yeah. So that would be it for me. And if anyone has any questions, they're welcome to ask.
Any questions for Jessica? Do we have any questions from online for Jessica? Because she needs to leave a bit early.
Okay, go ahead. Hi. How do you feel your guidance counselor in high school helped you for like university in terms of applications and curriculum and stuff like that? Because I'm also at UTS.
Oh wait, that's amazing.
I know, does the guidance counselor like leave out people who
Yeah. Wait, what grade are you in? Okay, I wonder if they still changed guidance counselors because my guidance counselor, I think like for grade 11 and 12 was a little different from earlier. For grade 11 and 12, I think my guidance counselor was pretty helpful actually. She was very sweet. Although I was a little bit more proactive. So for instance, I was the one who reached out to her and like wanted to schedule a meeting with her ahead of time and to kind of like ask for her advice on like schools and also ask for her advice on essays and stuff. I think like she didn't. I think like at the time, she thought that my essays were already well written, but she also had some thoughts as well, and I took them into consideration. I also felt like we had some guidance classes, and they like encouraged us to research like universities and stuff like that. And it was also during there that I like researched Yale and like also like checked out other universities as well. I thought she was like very sweet and supportive. But I would encourage you to take more initiative to like reach out maybe around like grade 11 or 12 so that, you know, there are lots of students. So it's good if they remember who you are and stuff like that. Yeah.
Jessica, 线上有2个问题，一个是 Are you planning to attend medical school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You didn't mention that in your speech.
Okay. Well, I mean, I thought it was in the poster, but yes, I'm very interested in public health and medicine. And also in the slide I think in the slide I did say that like all of this set up a foundation for a future in medicine and public health. So if that's a clarification, yes.
And another question is, did you use a counselor when applying to Yale?
Like a guidance?
Counselor. I think maybe she means some like actual help for your Yale application.
Yeah, I mean, I had like more experienced like people like help me look at it, but I'm not sure if it's like in the way that they mean. I think I also, in terms of like finding counselors, I think it's a very like personal thing as well. So I think like they can like consult and ask around if their child needs. I think it's different for everyone.
我用中文解释一下，这个家长可能就是想问你有没有用一些机构，你知道我的意思吗？就是一些 actual 的assistant。
就是有一些人有更多经验，就比如说像哥哥谁的，然后帮我看了一下。但是我觉得关于这机构这些问题，我觉得也是非常 personal 的，所以不管是我或者谁有用或者没有用，我觉得他们需要就是跟自己的孩子了解一下。然后如果有这种 essay 改 essay 的问题的话，我觉得能问你
问我
我觉得这些东西好像我觉得你应该
OK 对这个问题是比较 personal 很多人不愿意分享的，但是 Jessica 我比较了解，因为她刚上大学那一年我们就认识，然后她呢虽然申请的是生物专业也是属于 STEM 方向，但是她的写作其实是很厉害的她从上大学那一天起就一直在为我的学生看这个大学申请文书 OK 我们今天在座里边有一些拿到每本 offer 的文书也是他帮着做了一些修改的所以他的写作能力特别强我不认为他上大学的时候的文书需要再去找其他人来帮忙他是一个文理都特别均衡的这样的一个很优秀的学生Any other questions? 大声。
就是你的家庭环境或者你的家人给让你去考虑的你的今天的地方，也非常够。
That's a very good question. I'm actually
我重复一下他的问题，因为线上听不到有一个家长问，就是在 Jessica 成长的过程当中，他的家人给了他哪些支持和帮助，成就了今天的他。那你说一下。
Okay, yeah, that's a very good question. I'm actually very, very grateful for my family. I think they've helped me in many ways. I think the first way is that they were always supportive about things that I was interested in. For instance, when I was younger, I said I wanted to learn debates and stuff like that. And they said, okay. And then they looked around to see were there any debate lessons I can take, what tournaments, stuff like that. And when I was interested in creative writing, or even when I changed and when I said oh, I'm actually more interested in biology now, they never held me back. They were always supportive to allow me to explore my different interests and to be there as support if I needed them. And also, I think they always believed in me, and that was a very important thing. I sometimes when I feel not as confident in myself, they've always felt that I can shoot my shot, and that they've never at once doubted my potential and stuff like that. So even now, I'm very grateful. I think having a positive environment at home of support and belief in your kids, and encouraging them to try new things, and all of that was all very important to me.
我记得3年前还是4年前，就是上一次 Jessica 来做我们这个活动的时候，她妈妈是抱着一个3岁的小妹妹来的吧？就是父母很忙，因为还有一个小妹妹，所以这个孩子非常的独立，她妈妈也很谦虚啊。但是我感觉到，我不是感觉，肯定是这个样子的，就是这个小孩他即使是特别的独立啊，非常的有主见，他也是从小到大培养起来的。也就是说从小一直到他上大学，在那10几年的时间里面，父母肯定是付出了很多。那我作为一个过来人，我的感觉就是你在早期的时候投入的越多，你后期就越省心。它是这样的一个过程，就是你在早期的时候给了孩子特别多的支持让他有足够的这种优秀的判断力思辨能力为他高中之后、大学之后的所有重要的人生的重要的时刻，做出适合他的最优选这种能力是早期的时候家长给予的而不是倒过来。所以说在孩子小的时候呢，多投入一些时间，有效的陪伴有效的支持，那对于孩子后期走得更高更远能够起到更加决定性的作用这是我作为一个过来人的一些个建议。那还有一个家长问，你是几年级去的 UTS？ 7年级我有一个关于高中课程的问题。 Jessica 读的是生物相关专业，是不是高中阶段学了生物和化学，物理课就不需要选了？你有学 biology, chemistry, physics 都有学吗？
我3个都选了。
OK, Jessica 3个都选了。OK, 你这个家长的意思是，如果将来的专业是生物方向，那物理课是不是就不需要选了？其实我的建议是，如果你能够选，你最好不要放弃物理课，除非你实在是学不懂因为物理课在3大科学课里面，它是含金量最高的，也是最难学的。那虽然是 pre-med 这个方向对于物理课没有硬性的要求，但是如果你高中选了物理课，你的成绩还很好，它对于你录取 pre-med 的这个方向是会有帮助的。
So我想说 I want to add for pre-med in university they require physics.
pre-med
in university
高中不需要，对，大学是需要OK。申请生物专业数学竞赛有没有很大的意义？It's not very necessary, right? What do you think?
No, but I mean, I think as long as if you're interested in something and can do very well in it, it doesn't matter if it's math or something else.
Okay.
It's not required.
Yeah.
Shows your strength.
Yeah.
好了，时间的关系，最后一个问题。
I mean, if you have time and you have interest in it, especially if it's, for instance, a subject you're very passionate about, you can certainly do that. For instance, I read ahead for biology. I read the Campbell textbook ahead of time.
好，那时间的关系就到这里。如果你们跟Jessica还有更多的问题的话呢，可以发给我发给校长，我们可以转给 Jessica 姐姐，让她来回答。那 特别感谢啊，再一次感谢啊，大家都知道我们的 Key 有这个著名的研学团，那我们的研学团进入耶鲁校园7次，但是很不巧，这7次在学卡都不在啊。他这个春假是基本上是旅行啊，暑假呢基本上就是去做 research 了，是吧？很多时候都不在。但是我也要感谢他，因为他不在的时候，他把他的好朋友一个一个的介绍给我们的研学团，为我们做答疑，为我们做 tour guide，非常感谢。春假你能在吗？明年春假我先约一下。好，可以。那下面呢，分享的是这个Andrew，但是呢，我们需要给我1分钟，我需要给5个孩子做一个 group picture。Melody 哪去了 ？Washroom。OK， 稍等一下。那我们 so far any question？ 我们等一下 Melody 回来给5个孩子做一个照一个 group picture 啊，然后我们Andrew开始。any question 有没有？我们等一下那个 Melody， 就是不光是对 Jessica 前面其他任何人的这个讲座有没有问题？那就没有办法照相的呀，你就打断他呀。Next.
Oh, all right. Great.
Andrew 在这个康奈尔大学已经是3年级了啊，开学是现在是3年级啊，还有半年。他很有特点的，这个孩子学习特别的努力，而且特别的 efficient 让他自己来说啊。
All right. Can everyone hear me? Great. Let's get started then. Can I get the remote? Oh, I'll grab it. Great. So, hi, my name is Andrew. A brief agenda, really. To start, I'll start with an introduction of some preliminary stuff. Then I'll go over my high school experiences. Then I'll briefly talk about the college and university application process. After that, I'll talk a bit about like the campus experience at Cornell. And finally, I'll conclude with a few reflections that will hopefully be useful. Yeah, so hi, as I said, my name is Andrew. I'm studying at Cornell, double major in mathematics and computer science. I'm a junior, but technically I'm going to be graduating 1 year early, so just this coming May, in fact. For high school, I went to Hillfield Fountain College, which is a private school in Hamilton, and I did it both for high school, but also for my grade 7 and grade 8 years. So a brief, yes, sorry. Yeah.
We might want to take you guys for a group picture as just.
Yeah, for sure. All right. All right, great. So back, I think I was talking about my high school experience roughly. So I think to start, I'll talk a bit about, I guess, the sort of academic side of what I've been doing. So academically, I took 12 AP exams overall. 7 of them I took at school. Those were calculus, physics, chemistry, English Lit and Comp, and the 2 economics APs. And in addition to that, I also self-studied for a few other APs, so European history, US history, the other English AP, statistics, and computer science. With respect to the SAT, I didn't really have the chance to take the SAT during like high school because of the whole pandemic situation, but I had an old exam score that I had taken in grade 8. And I used that, and I got a 1540 on that. For some high school academic awards, I was the highest standing academic male for 3 years. I got the award for the highest achievement in mathematics for all 4 years of high school. I got the award for highest achievement in English once, and also the award for highest achievement in history once. With respect to some extracurriculars, I'd say first class of extracurriculars on more so STEM-ish side are really a few various competitions. So to begin with, I took the AMC, AME. I think people have already talked a bit about it. It's a pretty well-known math competition. I qualified for the AME 3 times. So my grade 10 year, my grade 11 year, my grade 12 year. Beyond that, I don't think there's much else to comment about the AME. Other than that, another thing we had that as an opportunity at my high school was this thing called the Canadian High School Big Data Challenge. Essentially, it's a competition where you do sort of database research on some topic that's selected by the competition organizers. I did this multiple times during my sort of, I guess, high school career. Back in 2020, my team, we qualified to be finalists. And then in 2022, we qualified to be finalists again, and then we won a few awards. So we got first place for student innovation, first place for analytic talent, second place for something called Infor Technological Solutions, and then third place for scholarly communication. In addition to sort of competitions, on the other hand, I also did a few, I guess, were sort of colloquially called camps. So, do we need to fix anything? Or? Okay. Oh, okay, yeah. So, I guess, not in any particular order, I was involved in the Stanford Summer Humanities Institute, which is this program that Stanford offers during the summer, which lets you take a sort of college-level humanities course in a particular topic with a real Stanford professor. The one I took was one on revolutions, which broadly, if you want to classify it as a subject, probably falls under history, philosophy, perhaps a bit of political science, but given the framing of the course, I'd say it was more so a history and philosophy thing. I also was involved with the Concord Review's history camp, which is this camp that teaches you how to do historical writing. So really writing sort of as a historian, if it were. And so the sort of purpose of that camp was to sort of teach you how to sort of come up with a sort of history-oriented research direction, and then how to find good and effective sources, and how to synthesize that into a long essay. So essays from around like 7,000 to 12,000 words, roughly. In addition to that, I was also part of a invitational mathematics workshop at the University of Waterloo. It's called the Lloyd Auckland Invitational Math Workshop. I think if you search it up online, you can probably find a bit more information about it. Beyond all of that, miscellaneously, I was also involved in soccer refereeing. I ended up refereeing for a few sort of higher level matches. The highest I ended up going to was sort of the Ontario Cup, where I was involved in sort of officiating the quarterfinals for a game. I was also a sort of mentor and volunteer coach for soccer, so really working with sort of young kids, I'd say around like 6, 7, 8, 9, working with kids like that to sort of like help them start out with soccer and help them sort of build like an interest and appreciation for the sport. And so on the volunteer coach side, that was mostly leading a team. And on the mentor coach side, that was really just organizing practices and whatnot. Finally, I was also the chapter head for STEM Fellowship at my school. And yeah, so STEM Fellowship is the sort of, I believe it's in, at least national, it might be an international organization that does a lot of work in STEM related stuff. And yeah, they've really focused on stuff in the sciences predominantly, but they also do stuff in mathematics and engineering as well. So here's the sort of abridged version of my college application results. Nowadays, the college application process is pretty competitive, so you sort of have to apply to like quite a few schools, but I've just highlighted a few schools I was admitted to that I think perhaps are a bit of interest. Starting out on the Canadian side, if you will, I was admitted to Energy Sci, Computer Science, and sort of financial management and sort of software engineering at like U of T, Waterloo, Michigan. On the sort of American side, I was admitted to UIUC for a program in computer science and statistics. I was admitted to the College of Arts and Sciences at the University of Michigan and to the sort of honors program there. At UC Berkeley, I got an offer for data science, which if I guess in context is sort of connects back to a lot of what I did in high school. And in addition to that, I also had offers for Amherst and Cornell, where I went to. Amherst is a liberal arts college, so it's sort of an institution that's a bit smaller than a normal university, and it sort of focuses on undergraduate education. A lot of the people who go to liberal arts colleges end up going to law school or to medical school, but I ended up going to Cornell instead. So why did I go to Cornell? Well, at least why did I go to Cornell back in 2023 when I was first applying to the school? First of all, Cornell has a really good reputation in both STEM and the humanities. I think the STEM capabilities of Cornell speak for themselves. We have a world-class sort of engineering program, world-class computer science and whatnot, but we also have a really strong humanities program with a lot of history. If you want me to give an example, there's this really famous book on writing better. I think it's called On Writing Well. And the book was actually synthesized by the sort of lecture notes of a Cornell professor, if I remember correctly. Why else? Also, Cornell has very good course rigor. You learn a lot in the courses are sort of intensive. You actually learn quite a bit. Like you get to sort of interact with sort of like world-class and sort of cutting-edge research, which is really something that's really valuable, especially in a coursework context. Related to that, we also have a huge course selection. Cornell's a really big school. I think it's probably the biggest Ivy League, if I'm not misremembering. And we have lots of really like diverse departments. Like I'm in the College of Arts and Sciences, but we also have sort of like an agriculture school and like a human ecology school and whatnot. And so because of that, we get a lot of really interesting courses. Like we have a course on wines and also like a course on like ice cream. And there's also a really nice course on mushrooms as well. Also, the campus is really beautiful. Ithaca is like a really nice place to be, especially like in the sort of like spring, summer, and also the early fall. And the campus is also really safe. It's a nice college town. It's very safe. You really can feel fine even walking around even at night. And also, it's very easy. It's very convenient to travel from here and back. I think the entire trip is like 4 or 5 hours, not including sort of like the border. Yeah, so Cornell is really, really beautiful school. Here's a sort of like bird's eye view of the arts and sciences part of our campus, which is sort of on the west. Over here is one of our libraries. You might be able to see people in there, like in the windows over there. That's one of our like really big libraries where a lot of people like to study for finals. This over here is our new CS building, which we had built, I think, 6-7 years ago. I don't have the exact date, but it's a very nice, very new building. It has a lot of actually really cool stuff infrastructurally as well. I believe that there's lots of cool stuff. I believe that, like, for example, cooling is actually done by pumping water from the lake or something. And here's one of our other libraries. It's like really a really historic library. It's really a nice place to sort of hang around in every so often. It like looks really nice, especially when you're looking at it from the inside. Yeah, so I guess the sort of recap as to like how valid were my sort of reasons for going to Cornell back in 2023. I said that I thought that Cornell had really strong academics. It does have really strong academics. Yes, the selection at Cornell is actually huge. It's very possible to take the courses. There's a lot of flexibility. The campus is indeed really nice. It's also really safe. And it's, like I said, pretty convenient to travel to and from Ontario. Some other reasons as to why Cornell's great. We have really good faculty here at Cornell. We have really good professors, like, for example, in the math department, who are really good at getting you sort of interested in the subject you're talking about. They can sort of motivate the content. They can connect the content to what you're working on, stuff like that. We also have very good courses that allow you to build strong academic foundations. Math 4330, which I've highlighted here, is the course in the honors sequence for linear algebra. And it's a really good course for sort of preparing you for upper level mathematics, where you have to sort of start learning how to write proofs with a very high degree of rigor. We also get a lot of access to sort of cutting edge research. So, for example, CS6117, which I've listed here, is a course on category theory for computer science. If you don't know what category theory is, that's completely fine. At the high level, it's this sort of mathematical framework that's actually very useful for sort of problems in a lot of fields that are sort of math adjacent, like physics or especially sort of programming languages in computer science. There are also a lot of very good research resources at Cornell. Cornell has a lot of summer REUs. In addition to that, there are a lot of labs which the professors are very happy to sort of hire undergrads to really work with them. There are also a lot of teaching assistant opportunities. The CS department has a huge number of opportunities. There's a full sort of system for handling that, but there are also opportunities in like the math department, or if you're interested in like biology, I believe there are also opportunities in like the biology department or sort of the anthropology department. There are also sort of multiple levels of courses to support all the different possible goals that you might have. So there are honors tracks for like sort of graduate school prep. There are a lot of theoretical courses if you want to really go in depth on the subject. And there are a lot of sort of applied courses if you just want to get like a sort of high level overview of something. There's also a lot of flexibility academically. It's pretty easy to double major at Cornell, and it's also pretty easy to sort of graduate early. So for the College of Arts and Sciences, you can sort of like put 20 of your AP or IB credits towards graduation. So normally at Cornell, you need to do sort of 120 credits to graduate, but if you have AP credits, up to 20 of those can be transferred, and so you only have to work on 100 credits over your semesters. It's also very easy to double major. The entire school is built around double majoring, at least in arts and sciences, in fact. And so if you want to double major in math CS, or CS in economics, or CS in stats, that's all very easy and very straightforward. There are also very nice dorm facilities. Yeah, the dorms are pretty clean. Yeah, they're reasonably spacious. Like, there are a lot of students, but the dorms are very spacious for what's available. And I'd say the bigger thing is there's really good food at Cornell. I believe we're like #2 in sort of food quality. We have very good chefs that make quite a range of food. We actually have a lot of like Asian cuisine, for example. It's not just like pizza every day, though we do also have pizza if you're interested in that. Yeah, so perhaps I guess a few long-term reflections now. From high school, the first thing I'd say is one thing that you want to do is you want to build very solid mathematical foundations if you're planning on pursuing a career in something like engineering or computer science. If you have solid mathematical foundations, everything ends up being really much easier. You should also put a lot of emphasis on like developing good reading and writing skills. That stuff is really valuable in sort of a university context. At Cornell, and I believe at most Ivy Leagues, they sort of want you to do a breadth of coursework. So even if you are in a STEM major, you still have to take humanities courses. And so developing reading and writing skills does make that easier. Also, speaking on a more long-term level, it's never bad to have good reading and writing skills to help you in communication, regardless of what you're planning on majoring in, and really regardless of what you're planning on doing. Also, another helpful thing, if it's possible, is to take more AP exams if you do end up planning on going to US colleges, since most US colleges do accept AP credits, and it can allow you to skip a lot of sort of introductory coursework and go right into sort of like meat of the major that you're majoring in. Also, high school is a very good point to start developing good learning methods. So sort of teaching yourself how to study things on your own, or sort of learning how to sort of like synthesize information. Anything that helps you learn better, it's very good to develop that in high school, especially since university can get really intense at times, and you might not have that much time to actually do that. Connecting over to that, one thing that you will sort of want to work on in university is time management and discipline. At university, it's very easy to get like overloaded with work. Like courses are pretty rigorous. In addition to that, if you're part of any clubs, if you're doing research, that all adds up. And so that's a lot of sort of time that you end up spending doing things. And so you sort of want to have sort of good time management skills to be able to handle all of that, to sort of like work with all of that in a sort of reasonable manner. Adjacent to that, something I'd like to add is the fact that sort of trying to maintain like a healthy sleep schedule, like sleeping ideally before like 11, is also something that's really good for keeping your mental health up long term. And that's something that's really only possible if you're engaging in good time management. Also, another really big thing about university is you should really try to take as many challenges as you can in university. University is this sort of great opportunity to actually like go deeper, to go further into what you're interested in. And so it's always good to take sort of challenging courses. If you're not sure about a course, like if you're not sure if you want to take an honors course or not, it's generally best to like sort of take a leap of faith. In fact, the honors professors usually actually want to sort of encourage you to take harder courses. And so they're actually very kind, and like they're really willing to offer like sort of support during office hours to help you succeed in these courses. Also, persistence and resilience are really important. Especially when you first start transitioning into university, you sort of have to, there's going to be a culture shock. And so like 1 or 2 exams might not go that well. Like my first linear algebra exam, I think I scored under the median, but like long-term everything worked out. So just trust in yourself, you'll do fine. You don't have to, like if 1 or 2 things don't go very well, you can always recover. So there's really no need to stress so much about that. Also, another big thing is in university, it's like, well, university is about exploration, but you should try to very proactively look for what you're interested in. Sort of prepare yourself for what you want to do in the future as soon as possible, because depending on whether or not you want to go into industry or whether or not you want to go to graduate school, your course selection, your activities are going to be very different. I personally am planning on going into a PhD program, so I focused a lot on research and sort of on theoretical courses. But for example, if you were planning on doing software engineering, you might want to focus on a lot of courses that are like relevant to software engineering, stuff that like employers are looking for. So yeah, thank you.也讲了，应该讲了。
谢谢 Andrew。 这康奈尔这个大学我比较有感情，因为我是康奈尔妈妈，但是我女儿大学毕业已经快6年了，所以有很多记忆可能都不是那么的新鲜。刚才看她展示了好多大学的照片，还是觉得蛮亲切的。一会儿呢，可能大家有问题关于你的那个3年毕业，他3年本科就可以毕业，还拿 double major， 这个很神奇啊！当然他高中 transfer 了很多 AP 课的这个 credit， 这个还是好用。然后其实这是第一。我女儿当时上大学的时候，他们工程学院有一个4年完成了 double major。工程和 computer science， 还拿了一个 master in engineering， 也是一个男孩子，大概是 transfer 了15到20门的 AP 课的 credit 的这个学，所以基本上第1年和第2年呢，很多基础课都不用上了。我想安住可能也是这样子，入学之后直接跨到3年级、4年级的专业课，这个很牛的啊。那好了，我们最后一个来为我们做分享的是 Melody。Melody 也是大学4年级了，她在4年前上大学那年也为我们分享那个时候呢也是超级可爱，很活跃，很活泼4年之后，我想她肯定有更多的想跟大家分享的东西而且我非常感谢她，因为我们的合校团进入哈佛的时候，他有帮到我们。等一下，他也会在他的 slides 里面向我们展示一些。好了，是吧？你这个东西你整带上，你夹在哪呢？
有口有，但是 OK OK. Hello. Are you awake? Okay, can we stand up, stretch one second? Stand up, stretch. I know you've been here for so long. We're almost done. Don't worry. Don't worry. We're almost done. Okay, stretch a little bit and then let's keep going. All right. Well, thank you so much for staying for so long. I know it's very, very exhausting sitting here for so long, but I hope you're taking a lot away from today's presentation. And we're at the last one, and then we can ask questions. So, 坚持一下. So hi everyone, my name is Melody. I currently go to Harvard. I am a 4th-year student, and I study computer science and economics. I started in 2022. I'm graduating in 2026 next May. So, yay, I'm almost done. Thank you. But my success is not just me at all. It's a lot of people that I will talk about. So let's do this.
No. Again.
There we go. Okay, yes. Hi everyone again, my name is Melody. I'm going to talk a little bit about my high school first, and then we'll go on towards a bit about my activities, extracurricular, everything, same thing. So the high school I graduated from was John Fraser Secondary School in Mississauga, Ontario. It is an AP school, and it is a public school. I went there from grade 11 to 12, but actually from grade 9 to 10, I went to Appleby College. I actually switched halfway because of some COVID stuff. But that means you don't need to go to a private school to get into Harvard. I went to both. And yeah, I'm currently a double major, so I'm not earning 2 degrees, but I'm like learning 2 majors, so it's like kind of the same thing. And yeah. So in my high school academics, my high school average was a 97. I took a bunch of AP exams, including calculus, macroeconomics, computer science, psychology. I took some more, but I didn't submit the scores because they weren't good enough.
A tip is if you have a score that's less than 5, which is the maximum, try not to submit it. I submitted 4s and I read my admissions letter and they said, I don't know why she submitted these. These hurt her application. So this is just some advice going forward. If you have 5s, obviously do your best to get a 5. And if you have 5s, submit them, even if it's like only 2 or 3 exams that you only got a 5. Try not to submit 4s or 3s. They just don't help. And then in terms of my ACT or SAT, I actually didn't submit a score because it was during COVID and they allowed people to go test optional, meaning that you could submit if you wanted to, but if you didn't have a score or you didn't have a score that you're happy with, you also didn't need to submit. Unfortunately, that's not an option right now, but that's just my situation. Oh, also, I just want to preface by saying my presentation and my experience is very personal to me, and it may not be suitable for other people. So just take this with a grain of salt, and like maybe your child has a completely different story than mine, and learning from other people's experience is helpful, but you shouldn't try to fit yourself into this presentation. You should build your own presentation and build your own story. Okay, so here are some of my activities, quite different from the other activities that we've heard from today. A big spike of mine, so a big thing that I've been doing my whole life is the arts. So I'm a huge dancer and I've been dancing all my life. And the first most important activity was that I was the president of my high school's dance club. And it's interesting because I switched high schools in the middle. And so I was the president of like both my old high school and my new high school. So if you do end up, for example, switching high schools, you can still like pretend that it was the same club. Don't worry if you're switching. And then my second activity, I do a lot of acting outside of school. So I act in TV shows, I act in commercials, and I use that as one of my activities as well. My third activity was I was the founder of this club in my high school called MedLife, which is a community service club. Fourth was like a competitive member of a professional dance crew where we competed at a lot of competitions. 5, dance again. Oh my gosh, so much dance. 6, dance. 7. I was a tutor for a newcomers tutoring program. 8th, I was part of like my school's like student government. 9th, I was doing some computer science stuff, and 10th, I was part of debate. So everything actually from 7 down wasn't actually too important to me. What's really important is like what the admissions officers see is what you tell them. If you tell them that like you achieve this and you achieve that, then it's gonna sound really good. If you don't tell them anything, they're not gonna know. And if you don't make it sound good, then they're gonna think that you didn't achieve anything, right? In reality, from 7 to 10, it wasn't too important to me, and I didn't commit that much time into it. But it's all about how you frame the way your activities like affected your life. For example, like the newcomers tutoring program is like a community service thing. You were helping people in the community, and they were like immigrants from I don't know, like immigrant families that can't afford English tutoring programs, and so you volunteered your time to offer free tutoring services. That's very impactful. It's very different from like a main activity like dance, for example. So what they're looking for in these activities is a wide range of experiences, but also a very like deep focus on what you are truly passionate about. And as you can tell, I'm very, very passionate about dance. Dance is mentioned like 200 times on this page. So whatever you are passionate about, I recommend do it fully. commit fully in all of high school if you are incredibly talented at even like violin, or if you're incredibly talented at math competition or science competitions, or even I have a friend who got into Harvard because she was so passionate about curling. Curling is like the sport. Like no, like have you guys seen anyone play curling? I've never met anyone playing curling, but she was so passionate about it, and she did it. She's actually from Canada, and she did it to a competitive level. She got into Harvard because they saw like a potential because she was so good at curling. So regardless of what activity it is, it doesn't matter what it is, as long as you pursue it to the highest level. And that's what really what they're looking for. Also, if you excel in the arts, you should submit an artistic portfolio. I'm sorry, this is bothering me. Artistic portfolio is when you excel in either visual arts, singing, dance, music. You can submit a video or a portfolio that showcases all of your talent. I submitted a dance portfolio that showcases all different kinds of dance that I did, from Chinese traditional to hip hop to jazz, all this stuff. And in my admissions file, where I read what they liked about my application, they really saw that they really enjoyed my artistic portfolio. They're like, wow, she has so much potential. I can totally see her like leading a show on campus, leading a dance show on campus, which I currently do. So anyways, these are some of my awards. Again, this was written like 4 years ago. There's definitely some improvements that I can make. I don't think that this first award, I would change it. I don't think this is the most impressive thing looking back, because a lot of people are AP scholars. But again, that means you don't have to have every part of your application to be perfect to get into a place like Harvard. I think what really stood out for me was my ability to like dance. And even if I made some little mistakes in other parts of my application, they still saw my potential. But regardless, I was an AP scholar. I placed, see, look, it's second, not first, at some hackathon, which is like a computer science thing. I competed on Canada's Got Talent for dance, and I won this award called the Golden Buzzer Award. I was a best female performer at this high school dance competition. And finally, I got the Duke of Edinburgh Silver Award, which is essentially this award that is a very well-rounded. It says like, oh, you did community service, you did sports, you did this and that. When you're framing your awards, make sure to put like a bunch of numbers, like, oh, you were one selected out of like hundreds of people. So as you can see, like, oh, 600 competitors, 1,000 submissions. I think this is like almost the exact wording that I used on my application. So try your best to like use a lot of numbers to make yourself seem very, impressive in that sense. Okay, and then using that application, I applied to a bunch of universities, both Canadian and American, and then I ended up with 4 American offers and some other Canadian schools. I got into Harvard, New York University for their Stern School of Business. I got into University of Pennsylvania for their College of Arts and Sciences, University of Southern California, for their business school, and some Canadian schools like Waterloo, Western, U of T, UBC. So I chose to come to Harvard because I thought that it was the best school that I got into, and I truly think that Harvard really, the name it pulls you a long way down the road. When you're thinking about Harvard, a lot of people know what Harvard is across the world, and I think that this name truly, has so much power. And yes, this is like a little bit surface level, but it truly does help you in terms of like the alumni network that's involved from Harvard. For example, we have so many like politicians' kids that go to Harvard, CEOs' kids that go to Harvard, and we also have future presidents that are going to Harvard, and future like Sam Altmans that go to Harvard. Like for example, there's a lot of kids that actually got into Harvard, went for a couple years and dropped out to like start their own startup, and now is like a multi-million-dollar business. So I think the environment that you're in when you're at Harvard, yes, it's very competitive, but you're surrounded by so many incredibly high achieving students, and it motivates yourself to continue. If you know you are the product of the people around you, so if you're surrounding yourself with high achieving individuals, that inspires you to like continue to work hard and continue to like keep going. Yes, it is very tiring though, because if the competition is very, very difficult, then you know people might get burnout, people might get tired, and it's very competitive. So that is like a potential risk, but it is a huge learning opportunity to learn how to deal with this competition, learn how to you know, become disciplined and things like that. And I'll talk more about that in a bit. I think my second choice was probably UPenn, but I don't know, I just like Harvard. Yeah. Oh, and also one more thing. One really good thing about liberal arts colleges, which Harvard is one, is you can declare your major in your application. Like you can do, oh, I'm intending to study economics or computer science, but you can actually switch it to anything. Like Harvard allows you to choose your major actually in second year. So in first year, everyone's like, oh, I don't know what I want to study. I don't know. I applied with this, but actually I have no idea what I want to study. So if you don't know what you want to study, it's okay. You can apply with the major that suits your portfolio the most. If you have the most amount of like science extracurriculars, it makes sense for you to study something for science. But don't worry, you can always change it later. I think a lot of schools are like this. Don't quote me for sure, but at least for Harvard, like you just apply to Harvard, period. And then you can change to anything. If I wanted to like major in film, I could if I wanted to. So don't be scared about like what you're intending to apply with. If you intend to apply with film, you can also change to computer science later down the road. So don't worry. As long as it like makes your portfolio look very like holistic, like it makes sense. If you have a lot of activities that's like dance, but then you apply for like biology, then it doesn't really make sense, right? So you should apply to make a great story, and then you can change later. Okay, so very quickly, some university experiences at Harvard. Harvard is a very, very difficult school to get into, but it's also just a very difficult school to survive in. There's incredibly smart people at the school. I'm considered like not even that smart at the school. There's like crazy, insane people there, which is very inspiring. There's lots of difficult courses, especially in like the STEM subjects, biology, computer science, and there's a huge wide range of courses. In my first year, I took a course that was called Science of Cooking, where I learned the science of cooking, which I studied computer science. I don't know anything about that, but I thought it was really cool. And then in the classes, we got to like eat steak because we're like studying the steak, like medium rare stuff. I also like took Chinese, which my mom thought was embarrassing because I'm Chinese. And she's like, why did you go all the way to Harvard to learn Chinese? I thought that this was one of the most fulfilling things ever because now I know how to like read my WeChat messages, and it's awesome. It's really fun. So if you like go to university, if you have a chance to like learn your mother tongue and you're not really good at it, I highly recommend because it's like it's my favorite course was learning Chinese at Harvard. Campus life. At Harvard, most people live on campus for all 4 years. Similar to what Jessica said, it's sort of like the Hogwarts houses. People get sorted into a house. I'm in this house called Adam's house, and you live in the dorms, and you make a lot of friends in the dorms. You eat at the dining halls. It's like a lot of fun. And college and university is more than just about classes. It's about like the friends you make, and also where you live, and also what clubs you join. It's a huge, very, very unique experience. And that's also something that's very unique to like American education. I don't think a lot of people get that by going to Canadian universities, because a lot of people in Canadian universities, they commute. So they live at home and then they commute to school and they go back home. So you don't have as much opportunity to meet people and to make friends. So I think it's very unique the way Harvard does it. Campus is beautiful. Also, it's where Boston is. Boston is a city, and it's very nice to like go into the city instead of being like, you know, either stuck at home or also just secluded in an area where it's like only your campus. I have opportunities to interact with people that are like not related to Harvard at all. For example, currently I'm a part of this dance group that's not related to Harvard at all, and none of the people there go to Harvard. And it's very refreshing to take a break from Harvard sometimes, because, you know, as I said before, there's lots of people who are very competitive, so it can get a little bit suffocating. So it's nice to be in a big city. And also Boston is like relatively safe, and it's safe to walk around alone at night, even though you should try your best not to, but it is still safe. So that's definitely a consideration. Some school resources at Harvard. Like I said, there's a huge, huge alumni network. Everyone is willing to help you. And there's also lots of funding to pursue what you want. Like if you're interested in research, there's lots of opportunities to pursue like research at a lab, for example. Or if you want to pursue, try like studying abroad. My friends have studied all over Europe, Taiwan, London, France, Denmark, everywhere, and they can give you money to go and study abroad. There's also resources for you to, for example, during the summer, work for someone, but then Harvard pays you and that someone doesn't need to pay you. So it's like you take on an unpaid internship, but then Harvard gives you funding to like pay you. So there's just so much funding for you to just do what you want. You have to do a lot of research to find like the little like hacks around on how to like pursue university. But like truly the possibilities, like they're so limitless, and it truly is a very, again, unique experience. You can't really get this elsewhere. And there's so many clubs, both like pre-professional and also like creative and artistic. Pre-professional essentially means like something like consulting or like computer science. So pre-professional clubs are almost like a fake, real, full-time work where you join a club, like a consulting club, and then you do real cases, like you consult for real companies and the companies pay you real money. And then because it's a school club, you guys have a lot of money to like spend on like club like events and things like that. And then for my creative artistic clubs, I'm in a bunch of like dance clubs, dance shows. You can take on leadership roles where you're the director or the choreographer, and a lot of people make friends, most of their friends, through clubs, whether it's pre-professional or artistic or creative or whatever. My biggest piece of advice in terms of like clubs, regardless of what university you're going to, join a club. It makes it so much more worth it. And that's how you meet more people and make more friends. Even if you go to a Canadian university, you should always at least try for one term. Join a club. If you like it, then stay. If you don't, then you can just like leave. But I think that this is like a really, really good way to make a lot of friends. So also like what people say when you go to Harvard is like, yes, the education is really good, but what's more valuable is the people you meet. because again, they have a lot of potential and you probably will make friends with like future very successful people. I'm gonna gloss over this just because I believe we have a little bit of a younger audience, but throughout my time at Harvard, I have tried to get a lot of jobs because that's what I'm thinking of right now as a fourth-year student. People get internships. It's pretty hard to get, especially in this economy, but it is possible. You just have to work really hard and have a lot of discipline to like commit time to applying and studying for interviews. The types of jobs I would be recruiting for are software engineering, product management. I also recruited for consulting. And my future plans are to move to San Francisco and work for, I think, Uber. I'm still deciding. And then I also was really lucky to get other full-time job offers at Snapchat, at Notion, and McKinsey. And I interviewed for a bunch of companies like Google, OpenAI, Palantir, Bloomberg, Bain, Stripe, stuff like that. And then job hunting relies on a lot of self-motivation. School actually doesn't teach you how to job hunt too much. They give you resources and there's like career counselors on campus, but where it really comes from is yourself. You being proactive to reach out to people, to talk with them, to learn. And also, for example, if you want to study for interviews, you kind of have to prepare yourself. So there's a lot of like proactivity that you need to like take into account here. But if you are motivated enough to work hard to apply to these universities, then you have the potential to also apply to all these jobs later down the road. Okay, I know this font is a little small, so don't worry, I'm gonna read it aloud. So, some tips about mindset as you're applying to all these schools. Control what you can control, but don't worry about the things you can't control. So what can you control? You can control your time right now, if you're going to waste time right now, or if you're going to use this time wisely to think about your essays, to think about what activities you want to do. And there's also things that you can't control. For example, legacy. There's a lot of kids at Harvard where their parents went to Harvard and that's why they got in. Do not worry about that. That is something you cannot control. Another thing you can't control is your financial situation. If you're first generation or low income, that is something you can't control. Do not worry about that. Do not worry about if you're an international student. You cannot change your citizenship. Do not worry about your financial aid if you're need blind or need aware. You can't change that. What you can control is your activities, your essays, your awards, how hard you work right now in high school or even if you're in middle school to make yourself stand out of the people around you. At this time of my life, I was always thinking about, I'm never gonna get into this school, I'm never gonna do this, I'm so bad, blah, blah, blah. Self-doubt is only going to harm you. It's only going to tear you down. You really, this is very corny, but you need to believe in yourself and you should pretend that you already go to the school. So I really urge you to like, I know it's like very like, some people say it's like cringe, but you truly, truly have to believe in yourself and you have to like put the negative thoughts away and just like go for it because it's not helpful to like continue to put yourself down, right? Also, there's a lot of like videos out there saying, these are my stats that got me into 17 schools. These are this, these are that, these are this, these are that. Try not to compare yourself to other people. Every single person has a unique story. As you can tell from the people that we just heard from, each of us had a unique story. I have a very unique story. I, danced on Netflix and that's how I got in. Not everyone does that, right? And so it's a very unique process. It's very, very different for everyone. So again, don't try to fit your story into someone else's. You have to carve your own. And again, college admissions can be very, very random, and luck is a huge factor. So regardless of the result, regardless of where you end up, as long as you make the best out of your situation, then that is what matters. If you don't get into your dream university, it's not like your life is over at all. You know, this summer I did an internship at Snapchat where I was a software engineer, and I go to Harvard, and there was people from Waterloo in the same position as me. There were people at like state schools in America that were same position as me, like University of Florida, like CUNY, which is City University of New York. It's like a public New York university. People think that like, oh, they're not that good, but they ended up in the same position as I am. Like I go to Harvard and we ended up with the same internship, same job, everything. So it doesn't matter. Your life is not over if you don't get into these good schools. You can still like work hard while you're in university to be in the same position as a lot of other very successful people. In terms of essay help, if you have a bit of time before you write your essays, start to really reflect. Start to like think, ask questions and like, hello? I don't know. Begin to like know yourself. Start reflecting, like who are you as a person? It's okay. It's okay, I'm loud. Start reflecting. Who are you as a person? Are you someone who's very adventurous? Are you curious? Are you a bit shy? It's okay to be shy. Colleges craft a very well-rounded class of people. Hello? Hello?
It's the bad word.
Okay, make sure.
It's a bad word.
It's okay, I can speak. Yeah, colleges craft a very well-rounded class of people, and you need to be what they're missing in the class. If there's like hundreds of people who are good at biology, math competitions, and you're trying to be them, then your competition is even more competitive, right? You have to be what they're missing. Like I said, like my friend is so good at curling. Do you know anyone that's good at curling? Like she was the first person I met that like actually like does curling. And for me, I was the person that was missing that excelled in dance. Right now I'm at Harvard and there's no one at my level for dance. I am like the missing dance person that they were looking for. So if you are someone who's like the missing like violinist or the pianist or someone, that is what you should really like frame yourself as. Like think about like what makes you unique and what hole can you fill in that school. In terms of applying, you should do your best to find
Maybe the folder in your hand.
like this. Hello? Okay. When you're applying to universities, you should find good organization methods that work for you. For example, it's very, very overwhelming. There's so many schools, so much information, location, tuition, cost, what clubs there are. So you should find a way to organize your information. I'll show you what I did when I was applying in the next slide. Hello? It's okay, I'll just talk. So make sure to find an organization method that works for you and research the universities. Do you actually want to go there? Like, do you want to live your life in a forest in Dartmouth because it's in a forest? Or do you want to live your life in a city? What's going to make you happy, right? You can also tour the schools. And I'll show you some pictures. Linked like helps you do tours as well, where you like tour all the Ivy Leagues and things like that. You should visit the actual schools, see and feel what it feels like to be there. I'll show you some pictures later. Look at the websites, look at the social media, research the clubs on campus, what kinds of professors are there. It really helps with like why school essays. For example, a lot of schools ask like, why do you want to come to XYZ school? why do you want to come to XYZ school, right? And so you have to research, oh, I would love to come to Harvard because I would love to come to Harvard because I know like Professor, this guy is known for his paper for this, and I really want to take a class by him. And that's going to show the admissions people like, oh my gosh, she really did her research. She really wants to go to this school. She knows the professor's name and she knows the class name. And I can see her excelling in this class. So you should like try to name drop these names. And also after you submit your application, you should continue to update your universities on the achievements that you achieve while you're in grade 12. For example, I did that when I was in grade 12. Like I was continuously emailing them saying like, oh, by the way, I'm also going to be on this TV show. I just booked a job, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 没事. Okay, so here are some like pictures of the tours that Linked hosts at Harvard. I am leading, I'm right there, and that's Sophie. I'm leading a tour. If you guys want to come and visit campus, you totally can. I'll tell you all about like the buildings and like where people study and things like that. These are a group of the kids that came last year for a tour, and that's me. These are some more photos. Yay! And that's like the very famous Harvard Library. It's called Widener Library. It's one of the biggest library collections in the United States. It's very, very cool. Also, it's beautiful. Like Harvard is so beautiful. I'm very, very lucky to be there. And like the background here, these were all the first year students live. Super cool. That's the library. Okay, some other tips for parents and families. I know this is a very stressful time. It's very stressful. I know you love your kids and you want them to do well and you want them to be successful, and they will, because you guys showed up here. You truly care about your kids, so don't worry. But also, if you want some other advice, okay. Support your kids. I know Jessica already said this, but I told you I'm like a dancer. I love to dance. If I had quit dance, or if my parents had thought that, oh, dance is not going to get you anywhere, then I wouldn't have gone to Harvard. In 10th grade, I actually was thinking about dropping dance to focus on my academics. But if I did that, I wouldn't have gone to Harvard or any of the schools, because that is what makes me unique. So even if it's something that you think like, oh, like, is my kid going to really let's say like, is competitive chess really something that like universities look for? Yes, it is actually. There's so many kids at Harvard that are actually competitive chess players. They're very smart. There's also competitive poker players at Harvard too. It's like you just have to find like what makes you unique, and you have to do it to your whole life needs to be dedicated towards it during high school. That is what makes you unique. And that where that comes from is like, are you passionate about it, and also are you good at it? Obviously you should explore options like, oh, do I like piano? Do I like science? Do I like this? But try to figure it out early, and once you figure it out early, continue to do it. Don't quit and try something and quit and try something and quit, because then you won't have anything to show that you're like really excelling. Allow your kids to follow their passions. Also, like, trust your children. They obviously want themselves to be successful as well, and so just keeping a healthy like dynamic between like, let's work on our essays today and then you can play games tomorrow or something like that. Just allow your kids to like be kids as well. I know this is a very stressful time. And also mental health is like very, very critical. When I was writing my essays, it was like the most stressful time. Every day I would just wake up, write my essays, go to sleep, wake up, write my essays, go to sleep. It was so stressful. So try your best to like support your kids and say like, do you need any help with this? Like maybe we can talk to like, oh, I know a friend that like they just got into this person. Maybe they can like help read over your essays a little bit. So the most helpful thing you can do is just like, you know, be a good parent by like, you're already doing an amazing job and like your kids obviously just want to be successful as well. So I know it's stressful, hang in there, it will be over soon. Advice for younger students who have a little bit more time if you're like in grade 9 or grade 8. I have already mentioned this, but less activities, but more depth is the best. If you have less activities, but each of your activities, you do it fully, then that is better than doing a lot of activities, but not achieving anything in each of them. I already said this, explore, but know what you want to do and keep doing it. What are you truly passionate about? It's okay if you don't know what you want to do. Keep your options open. Don't close doors early. If you're thinking about what courses to take, you should take the courses, take more courses, and you can always drop them later. For example, I studied computer science, and all the way until 12th grade, I learned I learned physics, biology, and chemistry. I hate all of those subjects, but it's okay. I tried them. And also keep the timeline in mind. Make a plan for high school. If you're in middle school right now, okay, grade 9, I'm going to join school newspaper. Grade 10, I'm going to try my best to go for a leadership role. Grade 11, I'm going to try my best to be a president or something like that. Make a plan, and then try not to procrastinate. If you're like, you need to write your essays, always start early. I tried to, I applied early for Brown. I got deferred, and that means I had to apply for all the other schools for regular decision. So I got in all those schools for regular decision. And that's why I was like so stressed because I had to like write all those essays last minute. So don't procrastinate, write them early. Also, you can find ways to like reuse your essays with one school. You can change it a little bit for the next school so it's not as tiring for yourself. Also, this is a way that I organize my information. Like this app is called OneNote, but I recommend using Notion. You can like write all the schools, like, like Barnard, Columbia, Harvard, NYU, Stanford. And then this is like all this stuff, like, student life, campus, info, cost, it's due on January 1st, stuff like that. It'll help you organize your information. At least that's what worked for me, but do what works for you. Okay, and then, that's it. Thank you, everyone. That's it.
我们接下来有一个统一的 Q&A 的场地，但是在那之前呢，校长有几个 slides 想给大家展示，就1分钟吧，1-2分钟的时间。这个空档我有一个问题，刚才Melody有讲到，就是你申请哈佛的时候，它有一个 question， 就是你的 intended major，你当时填的是什么？
我当时填的是I think it was like I think I put, we have a major called theater. Wait, no, what did I do? Theater? But I applied as film because I was like as an actress, and I wrote my essays about like, I love movies and things like that. But now I'm computer science.
The major actually just for admission.
Yeah, it's just for admission. Yeah.
Now, do you feel hard when you switch to computer science and the econ? Do you think you are exactly
ready
after you switched?
Yeah. Well, so even I took computer science in high school as a course, but even if you didn't do any computer science, there's still like introductory computer science courses at Harvard that you can take. regardless of my preparation though, Harvard is a difficult school. So I don't think it matters. Like my intended major does not, like, it doesn't mean that I was underprepared for computer science.
And nobody actually checked, right?
No, like literally, like the official declaration date for your major is in second year. No one knows what they're doing in first year. If you ask anyone, they're like, oh, I don't know yet. Like, I think I'm gonna do government, but I don't know yet. And you can change it to anything. Your intended major can be anything, and you can change it to anything at all. It doesn't, like, this is, again, specific to Harvard, but you can apply with anything and change it to anything. And you can change it multiple times too, if you want to.
Yeah. So that intended major at Harvard is more like a survey. It's more like a survey. It's not a commitment. All right. So guys, really quickly, I just wanna just for your information, this is our seminar. So we're talking about Harvard, and Harvard is coming to Toronto. And the Harvard Model UN, this is the very first time that Harvard Model UN is coming to Canada, is coming to Toronto. And it's going to take place in May 28th to 31st, 2026. If you guys, it doesn't really matter whether you have Model UN experience or not, and you're highly encouraged to participate in this event, right? It's called Harvard Model UN Canada. And you can register by, go to their official website, hmongcanada.org, or maybe just scan the barcode, scan whatever they call QR code. So again, this is the very first time Harvard Model UN is, hosted in Canada, and we actually are, the co-host. The Linky Foundation is the co-host for Harvard Model UN, right? It's a great opportunity. You don't have to go to Boston. You can just stay in Toronto, and you get the chance to compete in a Harvard event. So again, this is going to be on May the 28th through the 31st. The actual event will take place on the 29th, which is Friday. And this is the opening ceremony, very early morning on Friday. And the competition on Friday, Saturday, and then the closing ceremony is on Sunday. Okay? You don't need Model UN experience. You don't have to, but if you want to be competitive, of course, you have to prepare. Right, so you need to prepare yourself for the conference. But if you just want to experience it, right, you don't need to have a huge amount of efforts to put into this before the conference, right? Just go there and have fun. So that's the Model UN, Harvard Model UN, again coming to Toronto, in May next year. I mean, in 5 months basically. The second thing I want to mention, Melody mentioned in her slide, is our IB tour. We have IB tour. We do the IB tour every year. We do it twice a year, one in March, one in around like late June or early July. So coming up is the 我们叫春假研学团哈。所以是March 15th to 22nd, and hopefully Melody, you will be there at campus. You can still guide us through the Harvard campus. So Harvard would be on day 6, right? So we're departing here. We're departing Mississauga on March 15th. We're coming back on March 22nd. So those are the 2 events I want to mention. I think if you're guys interested, Harvard Model UN, and then the IB tour, the IB research program. And, you know, if you're interested, just get some information over there. We have a, you know, like a flyer, like a printout. All right, so let's go to some questions. Any questions? Can I have you guys maybe come
Yes,
over here?
standing in the
Maybe
front.
4 of you. That would be great. All right, so online, Zoom, if you have any questions, feel free to type them up in the chat.
OK，
Okay,
这两
go
个
there first.
这两个是给线上的 ，whoever speak。
Okay, I'll take one and then you guys can share the other one.
你这个要你
Go ahead.
离靠近，线上的才能听得见。OK， 这个是现场的，这个是给那个 Zoom 上的。
Yeah, first of all, thanks to all the students for making a very impressive presentation. It's making me wonder, how can I do it? But I always very impressive. But what type of, you know, what inspired you thinking going to US?
Okay, let me repeat the question for the online people. All right, so let me repeat for the online people. The question is, what really inspired you guys? Who actually inspired you guys for pursuing schools in the United States?
Okay, I can go first. So yeah, I think what inspired me was the difference in, like I said, Canadian and US universities, especially at the level that we're at, is the university experience. I think there's a lot more that you can get out
Bye, thank
other
you.
than academics, because usually Canadian universities, students just go to class and then go home. But at least in my experience, students go to class and then get lunch at the dining hall together. And then you go to your club after. And then on the weekends, you have other club stuff. And you're always like talking with other Harvard students. You're always making friends. You're always just involved in the campus life, which allows a completely different experience than if you were to stay at home, commute to school, and then come back home, and then not meet as many people as if you were to go to a school in the US. I think there's definitely schools out there in the US that aren't like that. There's like, for example, like UCLA is a public university and not everyone lives on campus. And a lot of people can also just commute from home to school and then go back. But I think the culture in the United States is more welcoming in terms of like participating in clubs and all these other activities. And these clubs connections go a long way. So like when it comes time for like job hunting, or when you're looking for roommates with who to live with in your post-grad life, then it's like people you met in school that you wouldn't have met if you didn't like live on campus or didn't like involve yourself in these extracurriculars. But you guys have your own experiences, so I'll let you talk.
Thank you. Adding on to that, I'd also say, I guess another thing about American schools is they typically tend to have a sort of more flexible framework for coursework. This is going a bit more into the academic side of things, but like there's a lot of flexibility to explore what you're interested in American universities. I don't want to generalize, but to my understanding, with Canadian universities, the curriculum tends to be a bit more fixed, and sometimes you really need to first be exposed to something to really realize what you're interested in. And so in the American system, like if you discover something that you were interested in that you previously didn't know about, it's sort of easier to change your direction, which isn't something that can be said as much in like a Canadian context.
So definitely same as what Melody and Andres already said, the culture and education is extremely different and very valuable. I actually didn't decide that I wanted to go to a US university until like grade 10. So I think I started around pretty late compared to most people, because I'm seeing most of you are pretty young. So good for you for already starting and considering your application process, because I did not start back then. But I think why I wanted to go to America was also because I became more interested in technology and computer science around that time in grade 10, because that's when I started to take like computer science courses and then like math contests in high school. So it was a natural extension of that. And also the opportunities in technology and finance in America is just completely different. And I'd ask Rachel to, you know, when they work in America, also like reach like a management position. I felt like going to an American school would set me up for a good position.
Thanks, Sarah. For me, if you remember, I only applied to 2 American universities. So for me, it was a little different. When I was applying, I wasn't dead set on going to a US college. In fact, the program I ended up going to, I only found out about a few months before the deadline. So it's not something that I had in the books from day one. For me, I think that we can all recognize the value and merit of going to an American institution. Like Sarah said, there's so many more opportunities. If you want to work in tech, the US is the tech center of the world. So definitely, I think exposure to these opportunities is something that is invaluable and is very difficult to compete with any other country in the world. But I do think that also when you're thinking about whether or not you want to attend a school in the US, you have to really consider whether or not it's something that fits you long term. It's not, right? It's not really a good plan to go off for 4 years just for you to come back and stay in Canada. At that point, it's a waste of tuition, it's a waste of time. So you have to look at what you want to do with your life, with your career, and whether or not this is something that will help you progress and get closer to that goal, right? Sometimes you might not know what you want to do with your life. And that's where the flexibility aspect of a US-based education might come in. Maybe it's because you're not completely sure what you want to do that you want to have a more flexible curriculum. And like Melanie said, like Andrew said, that flexibility is something that is more so found in the US. So you, again, the bottom line is look at what you want to do with your life and the direction that you have.
One more thing is like, if you value, like, for example, what job you're gonna get, a lot of people, like, for example, at Waterloo end up with the same job as me. So if all you care about is job, then go to Waterloo, save money, whatever. But I think like a lot of people I meet at school are also like from different countries and they're unique people. Like each person is like has a unique story, and it's also like I've never met anyone that's done this before. So if you value like having a very like diverse set of friends or a diverse like community, I think that's what you also get in the US because you are the diversity as well. You are someone from Canada, and someone's gonna meet someone from Canada they've never met before, you know. So that's another thing.
Okay, guys, I'll take a question from online. I'll come back to you, okay? The question is for Melody. This is written in Chinese. Melody, 你高中时候什么时候开始准备申请哈佛？你建议9年级的学生如果想申请哈佛，应该怎么规划高中4年？特别是高中4个暑假，高中没有4个暑假，高中就3个暑假，第4个暑假你高中都结束。所以 okay, you understand? You want me to translate?
No.
You're good? Okay, go for it.
If you're in grade 9, you're still young, just focus on doing well in school and joining clubs, and think about maybe it's a goal to be in a leadership position by grade 11. And I started writing my essays in summer before grade 12, and I didn't make a lot of progress until winter of grade 12, right before the deadline. I did not intend to apply to Harvard because I didn't think I would get in. I just applied just because might as well. Like I already was applying to the other schools. So you should plan, like grade 9 is still very young. Like don't worry too much. Just like make sure to focus on your grades. Grades are really important. Also extracurriculars. But if you're like, once you get later down the road, think about like target schools. Okay, I think I'm probably going to get in like these schools, and then I'm going to aim to get into these schools. And then it's like the top schools, like, oh, like I'm just gonna apply just to apply. And then you never know, right?
Cool, thank you. Go for it. Yi. Wait, 1 sec.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. Hi, Ho. Hello? Oh, it's for Zoom. Right. All right. Hello. Thank you so much for all your presentations. It was very inspiring and very well done, even for someone like me who is a recent graduate of Florida School. I'm alumni. So a lot of stuff you mentioned about job hunting is like it's very important, and no one ever warns you about it. So I'm glad that you guys mentioned that early. Very important. So we're currently living in the AI revolution with speculations on when AGI might arrive. I'm just curious if AI, the recent development of AI, has helped you guys in learning, or any strategies you guys been using to be more efficient. Thank you.
Yeah, so if I recall correctly, your question was about whether AI how AI has affected our learning and sort of how it can improve productivity. Speaking broadly to that, I'd say the really big advantage of AI is AI can sort of help you summarize information. You can sort of view it as like an improved Google search, if you will, like Google search, but like smarter, where you don't have to sort of go through each source individually and synthesize the information. But in terms of sort of like using AI to sort of internalize information, ultimately, when you're internalizing information, you have to do that on your own. And so with respect to that, you sort of have to fall back on like tried and true techniques. So for example, any mnemonics that you might know for memorizing things, or sort of getting intuition about stuff if you're working in the sciences, stuff like that is still just as valuable as it was before AI. I guess speaking more broadly about like the impact of AGI, I don't think AGI is going to be particularly relevant in the foreseeable future. Generally, most AI models nowadays are sort of based on statistical approaches. And so, like I said, they're essentially just really good search engines. And so in terms of a reasoning model that might be able to sort of like automate all the work that you're learning in school, I don't think that's relevant in the foreseeable future. One comment I will make, though, is that with AI sort of like enabling things like vibe coding, it's definitely not a bad time to start focusing on sort of soft skills that like AI can't really tackle right now. So stuff like your communication skills, or like your ability to work with other stuff, is still going to remain relevant, at least until we get to AGI, which is going to probably be for a while.
I can talk a bit about how AI has changed education. UPenn is actually the first Ivy League to have a degree in AI. So you could just major in AI, and as well in computer science, you could also choose to concentrate in AI. So obviously there's a lot of hype around AI. I think many schools are starting to implement like more courses in AI about that. And for education, definitely it makes studying a lot easier, since the information you get, you can just like type it into ChatGPT for you. Especially for some STEM courses I took, where it's flipped classroom, where you have to teach yourself instead of looking for your own resources, spending money to go look for your own resources because it's flipped classroom. The ChatGPT like kind of saved me. As well, especially if you're in STEM, you want to do like software engineering, something relating to that field, vibe coding, Claude, all that is very helpful for productivity. I feel like personally for me, I mean, I also do some vibe coding with AI now. It definitely helped me improve my skills a lot faster. I feel like you just like get a lot done way faster with AI, especially now. There's a lot of hype around startups. There's a lot of AI B2B SaaS wrappers. I think the evolution of AI has really accelerated that, and there are many great ideas that come through it. So I think it's really important to stay aware and also stay on top of learning about AI, because in the future, a lot is going to be about AI.
I think one thing is, if you're worried about AI taking your job, here's what I have to say is you can't really control whether or not it does take your job. So you shouldn't let it dictate too much of what you're doing now with your time. Just do what you think is good for you, do what you're interested in, and you kind of let the world take care of itself. Right? It's inevitable. You can't change what's going to change. So why worry about it? At least for me, because my degree is a lot more humanities focused, I'm not as technically savvy. I'm not as familiar with the AI development. But what I do know is that for our courses, a lot of them are like very dense reading, a lot of political articles and such. AI is really good for optimizing your time and making things easier, making reading easier, making understanding difficult concepts easier. And so at least my perspective is in college, if you're not trying to learn about AI or use AI the best of your ability, you're already kind of falling behind. So because it's a tool, it's like if Google came out and you're the only guys not using Google, it doesn't really make sense. So you want to be trying to learn about these things as best as you can, but at the same time, don't let it consume your life. And it can feel like there's a sense of doom or despair that the whole world is going to fall apart because of AGI. But don't let that get to you. Life still goes on, and you'll be successful no matter what you do. So, yeah, I think that's the main takeaway.
Okay, James, can you maybe keep the microphone because the next question is for you. 中文问题想问一下 James， 我看到你的录取学校和专业有一定跨度，你在选择专业的时候能够分享一下你的考虑吗？
Yeah, so because the program it's double degree and because you have so much choice in the degrees, your academic experience really depends on what you choose. I know someone who's in 4th year right now in the program. So they're at Columbia. I think they did politics and government at Sciences Po, and then they ended up doing neuroscience. So it's like totally unrelated, and it's not really the first 2 years of their education did not really contribute to their 3rd and 4th at all. So it can vary a lot depending on what you choose and your interests. That being said, if you choose something that's not related to the first 2 years, you might have to take an extra semester or extra year, take some extra courses because a lot of the courses are introductory. You have to take prerequisites, so it can take a bit longer to get the degrees. But that aside, usually people in this program tend towards humanities-related careers. So whether that's in law or in politics, or even just in consulting and finance, it's a lot less common for people to pivot completely towards something like STEM or engineering. It's just less common, but that's not to say it's impossible. And something to also consider is because in the US, if you want to get an extended work visa after graduating, if you have a STEM major, you actually get an extra year of your work permit. So that's an advantage of having a STEM major. That might be something that you're considering if you plan on developing or working in the US. As for me, my major that I'm intending to choose economics and sociology at Sciences Po, and then probably financial economics at Columbia. So at Columbia, financial economics is economics, but with a few finance-specific concentrations involved. The course load generally is harder for econ majors than the other humanities majors because Columbia is very known for their economics program. Most people that I know that end up doing econ at Columbia end up working in high finance. That's very common for people in this program. And that is something that I'm considering as well. So you can see how just because you're not at Columbia for the first 2 years, it doesn't totally inhibit your ability to work in the same fields, in the same roles by the time you graduate. It just takes maybe a different path.
Okay, you know what? Let's try to finish all the online questions, and then I'll come back to here. Okay, guys. So this is more formality, I think. 请问怎么样规划课外活动才能吸引哈佛大学招生官 This is basically ask you for your secret recipe.
Okay, secret recipe. Really quickly, I think I already described it, but do anything but do it to the fullest. Done.
Okay. All right. 下一个问题哈，我想知道藤校学霸们高中时期丰富多彩的课外活动和各种竞赛都是高中提供的信息吗？除了学校，还能在哪里获得活动和竞赛信息 ？LinkedIn 啊，这问题不用问了，就 你就来问我跟潘老师就好了，好吧 ？OK， two more questions from online, and then we'll come back to the in person here. How do you prepare for university in grade 10? Any one of you? How do you prepare in grade 10?
Same thing as grade 9. Focus on just relax. It's gonna be okay. You can start worrying about university, like applying, like writing essays. You can start worrying about it in grade 11. In your grade 10, just focus on your grades and get the leadership role, okay? Breathe, relax. It's gonna be okay.
All right. So the next one, which is the last one from online, what would you recommend doing? What would you recommend doing during the summers between high school years?
Well, that's a good question. You guys wanna?
Okay, so over the summer, I think the grade 11 summer is considered the most important. You want to do something great. So actually, I remembered this after Andrew's talk, but I was accepted to Stanford summer program. So I forgot the name, Stanford summer session or something, which was just like an 8-week program in my grade 11 summer. And I chose to decline it, first of all, because it was extremely expensive. And I think a lot of these programs are also known to be cash grabs. So what I did instead for my grade 11 summer is I started research, because I got the research opportunity from a professor from Johns Hopkins on machine learning. And I also worked as a software developer at this summer camp for York Region. And like the work experience and as well the research really like furthered like my application, because I got to learn more about what I was interested in, which is like technology and machine learning versus summer program where I'm sure it would have been really fun. I would have met really great people, but I felt like you also have to consider the trade-offs and if it's worth your time and money or not. So that's why I decided to spend my summers doing work and research.
Okay. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Like which school and where help you to find out opportunities, for to perform in Netflix and
Yeah. So in middle school, I was signed, like I've been dancing since I was like 0 years, just kidding. I was dancing since I was like 5, and I joined this competitive dance group in Mississauga. It's a dance company. Like you can find lots of dance companies. There's like lots in like Markham. Just search up competitive dance studio, and then join one of the ones that are like, oh, competitive jazz, hip hop, whatever. And you go to competitions, you'll get a lot of awards, whatever. But how I got like the Netflix stuff is because I joined a dance crew in high school, and the director of the dance crew is a professional dancer. He is like a professional dancer where he not only like his job is dance, so he looks for people to put in movies, he looks for people to put in TV shows. And then I also was signed by an agent in middle school where I am like auditioning for a bunch of acting stuff. If your child is very young and you want them to be a child actor, go look for a agency in Toronto that will represent your child to be a child actor. And it's not all like that easy though, because a lot of people audition for things and don't get it. I've auditioned for many things and I haven't gotten that many. But my agency is called AMI. I mean, you can do research on like all that entire industry, but it's like starting young and then just continuing going forward and doing it at a high level. Does that answer your question? Oh. Okay, so what city do you live in? Oakville. You can go to Canadian Dance Company. It's in Oakville. It's very good. And I went to Canadian Dance Company when I was really little, but it doesn't matter which one because they're all very good. It's like Canadian Dance Companies in Oakville. I went to a dance school, it's closed now, so it's not helpful. But there's some in Vaughan called the Nine Dance Academy. They're also very good. It's called the Nine, like Joe, the Nine. And then there's like some in like Richmond Hill called like Art and Soul Dance Academy. They're just like competitive dance studios, and usually a lot of the kids like achieve dance stuff. No.
Go ahead.
All right, so hi, I'm grade 11 this year, so I'm more concerned about, selecting majors and everything. So first question is about for Sarah. So the first question is for Sarah. I'm wondering about, Wharton is very competitive and it's very like prestigious, but like how does adding technology to the major kind of like change your career path, and how does that kind of affect your future kind of opportunities?
Yeah, so for M&T, since it's a dual degree, I think it is more technically focused. Like most of the people who get admitted have focused on STEM, and then they are doing the Wharton degree to either like scale a startup or something in that space. So I think the technical focus is the most important for M&T. And I think definitely opens up a lot of career paths, because most traditional like single degree Wharton students end up going into like consulting, investment banking, and then they are hoping to like maybe exit into like private equity, venture capital after like 2 years. But for M&T, many of students are going straight into private equity, venture capital, straight out of undergrad because of the M&T name and connections. So I think adding on the technology also gives you like a technical background, since I think many firms now, they don't want just pure like finance or econ. They also want like more analytical thinkers. So adding on like a technical degree helps a lot. Especially I know people who are like pure like physics, maths, yes, they're also going into like investment banking and consulting. So I think technical skills, a technical degree is extremely valuable.
Also, AI is going to take non.
Yeah, I have a question for you as well. So I noticed that you were taking economics at the same time, but you end up to be a product manager anyways, right? So like how does taking economics kind of like change your career decision, and why did you combine like economics with computer science?
I combined economics with computer science because I'm an overachiever and I can't settle for just one major. And I also was super indecisive. I was like, oh, should I do computer science or economics? And I couldn't choose, so I did both. And it was really exhausting. I'm really tired, but I'm almost done. That's the real answer. But also it actually does help because it just makes you more suitable for like a finance job if you wanted to do it. Like, for example, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to do software engineering or finance or consulting. And that's why I just kept my door open by doing a double major. Because with computer science and economics, you can basically do literally any job because it's like so wide, right? So that's essentially, I just don't want to close any doors.
Okay. So last question is for James. I'm just wondering, because like I'm not quite sure, like I'm in STEM core right now, but I'm not quite sure what I'm gonna do for my future. And can you talk more about how you decide your majors in the program? Because I didn't quite catch that part. And
yeah. So to be honest, I'm still not totally sure what I want to choose for majors. So Sciences Po, you choose in the second year. At Sciences Po, there are only 3 majors. It's EcoSoc, so that's Economic Society. There's PolGov, which is Politics and Government. And then the last one, I think it's like some other more broad, general humanities studies. So the first part, the Sciences Po part, you don't have a lot to choose from. So that I just chose the one that I thought was most interesting, economics and society. But at Columbia, I am interested in more finance side of things. So that's why I chose financial economics instead of just general economics or even like econ poli-sci. At Columbia, there's like 6 different econ selections. There's like 6 different econ majors. So there you have like econ poli-sci, econ stats. There's a lot of options to choose from. Specifically financial econ, it's because they have courses and specific like extra qualifications that are specific to finance. And that's like a field that I'm interested in. Maybe that'll change 2 years down the line. But if you're interested in finance, usually economics is a very good like pathway. It gives you a lot of leverage when you're recruiting And there's also a lot of the professors and TAs and such that have those connections that are already there.
So it's more like humanity focused instead of like STEM focused?
Yeah, it's a lot more humanities focused. You will have to take a lot of math. That's the only like STEM adjacent that you have, of course, for economics. I think Columbia, on paper, economics is considered a STEM major at Columbia for some reason, which works in your benefit because it's not as like intense as an engineering major or physics major, and yet you still get the extra year of work permit after you graduate.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, we'll take one more question. And then one, two,
Yeah,
no.
So as far as I know, each of you has something you've stayed committed to for a long time. So I'm curious about whether this persistence comes purely from interest. If interest alone isn't enough to last that long, were there moments when you wanted to give up? And if so, what helped you regain your conviction? Yeah.
So I did volunteering at a hospital for a very long time. I think why I first started was because I was originally considering a career as a doctor. I wanted to go into med actually. So that's why I started volunteering. And when you're a volunteer at a hospital, you know, you get to meet a lot of people, you work on your customer service skills, and also had a really good friend that volunteered with me for the whole 3 years, and we were on the same shift every single time, which is really great. So I think that's also part of the reason why I stuck with it. I like genuinely enjoyed my volunteer shifts. Like I looked forward to them. I'd cancel stuff if I had plans when I had a volunteer shift. But also, once I decided that I wanted to go into tech, I did consider like dropping my like volunteering because I thought I would have more time to like pursue something more technical, maybe some more competitions or something like that. But I think why I decided to stay was because, of course, universities really value the commitment, like the depth of the commitment, and also because I also pretty closely aligned with like my application. I was focused on medtech, and staying as a volunteer for a really long time helped me get opportunities to work for like tech for 3 hospitals. If I quit my volunteer job, I would never have gotten some of these opportunities. But because I stuck for so long, like the staff knew who I was, and so when I reached out, like when I had cold reach outs to ask for like positions in tech relating to med, they like supported me throughout. So I think if you commit, then you'll also find a network and also find support with it.
I also want to make it very clear that it's very easy to get confused consistency with length. So just because you don't have to stick, let's say for instance for me, I did Model UN for 3 years, but that doesn't mean I just competed over and over for 3 years. That gets boring after the first 2, right? Like what I found was interesting is even in one discipline that you want to stick with, you don't have to stick to the same role or to the same organization or to the same club, right? For instance, if you're interested in Model UN and you're interested in learning about, the United Nations, what I did was instead of just competing, I started running my own competition or being a judge or joining my local MP's office to learn about like real international policy, right? So you can be very connected to the same discipline for many years, for a long time, and be consistent, while also having new opportunities coming in to replace the old, right? It doesn't mean that you're stuck with the old boring job in your grade 9 year and you have to stick through it all 4 years. That's not what it means, right? It just means that you want to find an area, a discipline that is interesting to you, and that you're able to scale and develop and grow in that discipline. In fact, that's what admissions officers are looking for. We're looking for growth, looking for you taking your pre-existing skills and experiences, applying them, and then becoming better. That's what they're looking for when they talk about growth as a whole.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask the last question. So from parents' perspective, what role that your parents has been helping you in terms of selecting, applying in the university? And if that you have the chance, what would you ask your parents to differently in terms of helping you selecting and applying for the different schools?
That's a really good question. I think it's something that a lot of parents in the room are probably asking in their head. For me, my parents they're pretty hands off when it came to my applications. I didn't even plan on applying to the school that I'm at. So my parents definitely were not the ones who pushed this onto me. It was something that I was interested in, I found on my own, and that I wanted to pursue. And I think this is the most important role of the parent. Is you as a parent, your goal is not to be like the guide leading your kid to certain directions. You're kind of there to stand behind them, and as your kid finds their own path, you're kind of there to guide them onto the right path, onto the right road. So I think the role of a parent is you have to be also very receptive and very open to what your kid is actually interested in. I know now there's like this culture in Chinese culture, especially, they're like, you have doctor, dentist, lawyer, right? Engineer. And then that's it. That's the four. But the reality is kids are actually a lot more passionate when they are pursuing something that they like, right? For me, I've never been a STEM kid. My dad does software development. That's not something that I've been interested in at all. And for me, like pursuing Waterloo engineering or UT side is not even something that was on the table. And my parents, they were totally okay with that. They said, if you're interested in politics and history, then you should go pursue politics and history, right? I think the role of a parent is not to be restricting, but to be there to support the pre-existing interest that your kid has. I think that's the number one piece of advice for parents.
I also want to say, really quickly, like for the kids, I know sometimes parents can be like annoying and like say like, oh my God, you have to go to this seminar. You have to go to this seminar. You have to write your essay right now. You have to do this. I know they're annoying. My parents were annoying too, but they just want the best for you. And like, sometimes you just have to like, listen, sometimes you just have to be like, fine, let's go. Let's go to the seminar. Let's go to the stupid seminar. Oh my God, I hate the seminar, but let's just go. And then maybe you'll take something out of it. Don't make it awful for yourself. If you like go in the summer like, oh my God, I hate my life. I hate my life. You're going to hate your life. Just like, be like, oh my God, my parents love me so much. They want the best for me. They want me to go to this beautiful school. So let's work together as a team. Let's work together as a team. Be on the same side as your mom and dad because they just want the best for you. But also, mom and dad, don't be so controlling. Don't be like, no phone, no games, no this, no that. Okay. We have to find balance in having fun and also focus. Fun and focus to go hand in hand, and let's work together because parents and children are on the same side of this battle. Okay, yay.
All right. Yeah. Okay, guys. I wanna thank four of you, including Jessica, for taking the time, all the efforts prepping for this seminar. This is a great seminar. Actually, it's not boring. This is very good. This is very good. Thank you. A round of applause, guys. Thank you so much. Also, I want to thank Miss Pan. This is a holiday, right? She really spent her holiday, sacrifice a lot of family time putting all this together. This is not easy. This is not easy. It took her a month to prepare this. Round of applause, Miss Pan. And thank you very much for everybody. So I truly enjoyed this. I learned a lot. Hopefully you learned a lot too. I know if you guys have any questions, you want to ask them individually, we might have maybe a couple more minutes you can spend. So then we have to vacate this room. But once again, thank you so much. Happy holiday, happy new year. Thank you. Bye.
这个东西怎么关？
好了。嗨。
嗨，韩老师，这还真不简单，那么大个人，是他自己要求来，还给你拽来的。
那谁呢？老王没过来。春节过来吗？
春节他应该会过来。
还没决定。
对，还没最后决定。